In Daytona, the HTL Cup Series season started off with a bang. A photo finish saw Nathan Estep win HTL's biggest race, kickstarting the 2023 season. Tonight, for the first time in 2023, we travel up I-75 to Michigan International Speedway. 4 miles south of the village of Brooklyn, Michigan International Speedway sits in one of the more scenic parts of the state it takes its name from. 70 miles west of Detroit from the Irish Hills, we do battle in the Wolverine State. Welcome to ABN's coverage of the HTL Cup Series season. I'm Carmen Hardy. Alongside me is a woman of many accolades, 2022 ABN National Champion, NASCAR College Series driver, and former Daytona 500 winner, Kristina Ryan, to bring you tonight's race. For the second time ever, HTL visits Michigan International with 40 drivers attempting to qualify for tonight's race. 3 drivers are going home. And with Daytona being a little bit different than Michigan, how much more on the nose will drivers need to be to make tonight's race?
Well, I think, first of all, great to be here, Carmen, and honestly, it's going to be very different today. Obviously, Daytona had a lot of RNG, a little bit of wind lottery, a little bit of qualifying didn't matter as much. You had the duels to race your way in if you had a bad quali. That stuff is over now. We're well and done with the Daytona fanfare, and we're here at one of the other largest speedways on the calendar, but it's not a restrictor plate, and that means that you actually do have to try and get your lines right here to really make an impact. So with the idea of all these drivers out today, we have a huge host of drivers ready to try and qualify their way into this race. Some people are going home tonight. That is a confirmed thing. And with that being said, it's going to make qualifying that much more intense, but it's also going to make things a lot more high pressure for these drivers, because with how hard these cars are to handle, we've heard people say they're tight. Some people say it's loose. A gust of wind in Daytona may have cost you a couple of hundredths or a tenth here or there, depending on when the head speed and the tail speed was. Here, if you get a gust of wind going into the corner, that can make or break your entire weekend. So these guys and girls are going to have to be on it tonight.
It's gonna be fun to watch. That is an absolute guarantee. Obviously, qualifying starting here in about 7-8 minutes. We talked about it. As I said in the intro, this is only the second time that HTL's ever been to Michigan, and HTL's been around for quite some time. It's a rarity to be here in the Wolverine State. And the weather from this race, for those that were in last season, completely different. There were 29 drivers in the race last season here. Obviously, 40 drivers just trying to take part in tonight's race. Can't be much more different. Season 2, it was gloomy, it was cold, 65 degrees, it was windy, it was very humid and muggy. Rain was very much on the minds of a lot of people, both in the community and in the air. You felt the ominous feeling around it. Obviously, it's clear skies tonight, but it's 90 degrees. It is extremely hot, it is extremely windy, it is extremely dry. That changes a lot. No one really had any... none of your data from last season really carries over to tonight's race. With that being said, with how much hotter this track is, and obviously this track is a little bit smaller than Daytona, but it's also going to wear the tires more. How much more does tire saving come into play here, especially as you see a lot of drivers doing a lot of race runs and a lot of race trim runs? How much does tire saving matter more with this heat now such a factor?
It's going to be very critical, I think, because, they don't have the big 550 spoilers like they did in previous years at this track. We're back to the baby spoiler. Obviously, these tires are the 18-inch profile tires, so they are a lot less likely to be forgiving, a lot less lean on them. So they're a lot easier to agitate. It's a lot easier to lose that back end or lose grip on that right front tire. We know fuel mileage is going to be a huge factor today as well. We know how fast that the multi-grooves can be here, but we know that the further up the racetrack you go, the more you're going to start taking out those Goodyear Eagles. So, it's going to be a huge factor. And like you said, it's a hot, slick racetrack. That's going to really, really help some. We see some drivers really thrive in these miserably hot conditions, but we also see a lot of drivers that prefer those cool racetracks and that extra grip. So it's going to provide more racing because I think the lack of grip is going to make that outside lane a little more lucrative. But it's going to be really a pain for these Goodyear tires, which we know already struggle quite a bit in the optimal conditions. So I'm interested to see what happens, but yeah, it's a totally different ball game. Everything you might have thought you knew from Daytona, keep that in the back of your mind for when we go to Talladega, but it does not apply here. It is a completely different fish to fry, and for some drivers, like who's on screen right now, it doesn't even matter what happened at Daytona because they're making their debut tonight.
Absolutely. That's one thing that we're actually going to talk about here before we get into qualifying. You see the timer in the top left of your screen, less than 5 minutes until qualifying begins. We'll fill everyone in first on how wild these races are. They ran two 2-mile races, one at Michigan, one at Fontana last season. At Michigan, the race, the margin of victory was 18 milliseconds between Dylan McDonald and Blake Henderson. Those two names, for those that watched last week, very familiar. A lot of trouble between those two. McDonald and the Rage Motorsports team in general, with Caleb Collins, Zach Woods. They've accumulated a lot of ire around the paddock with the events of Speed Weeks now in the rearview mirror. For McDonald himself, he's been given a stern warning. He almost intentionally wrecked Henderson and almost the entire field at Daytona. That was the general consensus from race control. He was given a stern warning. Do it again, you're sitting out. So cooler heads have to prevail for him in particular and his teammates. Caleb Collins has had a run of issues as well to avoid having an early vacation. But he won this race last season over Henderson. At Fontana, different story. It was defending series champion Matthew Boone that took HTL's closest race finish at Fontana by 1 millisecond. We're kind of used to seeing close race finishes at Fontana here on ABN. So that's going to be a lot of fun. See if we can get something similar to that tonight. 100 laps. Plenty of opportunity for people to put themselves in position. But we talk about the new faces. Alyssa Pelletier-Sharp is one of them, the 23 car tonight, filling in for DJ Anderson. In the number 23, that team has got 3 new drivers in it. With Pelletier-Sharp, you've got Eli Sasek in the 45 as well. So some new drivers there. 3 new drivers for Stepping Stone Motorsports: Josh Gaiman, Brandon Proudfoot, and William Britton, who was an NFG driver in the preseason. All of them have moved to Stepping Stone Motorsports to make their official debuts this season. And then substitutes, more substitutes down the line. Scott Poznansky in the 19 that Olivia Hayward drove last week. And then John Garrett in a chartered ride for this race. Typically he drives his own number 66, but the ARCA Menard Series driver, he'll qualify last because he's filling in for Nathan Estep, last week's race winner. So he's a little bit more comfy now this week than what he was last week, having to race his way in.
Yeah, for sure. And this is practice going on right now. Some of those in the chat hopping in right now. We got about 90 seconds left until we start, once again, unique to HTL, that single car qualifying that we've all come to know and love. Very excited at Daytona. Going to have a little bit more value today. But yeah, a lot of new people starting. And you can see Alyssa Pelletier-Sharp here struggling a bit to get to grips with this car. It is a difficult track. The conditions are going to be rough. And we'll see what she can do here. Of course, she had some success in the truck series, the SCRL truck series, but in a completely different league right now. And we'll see what she can do in that number 23 machine. It does look pretty similar to the car Hayward drove, but it's on last week, but it's not under the same charter as you mentioned. The way that all works, moving around, shuffling a bit. So we are about 40 seconds away from getting our first couple cars on track, and it'll be William Britton, Josh Gaiman, Brandon Proudfoot, Eli Sasek, and Alistair Kirk, the first 5. And the funny thing about that, Carmen, all 5 of those drivers, which will be the first ones to qualify, not guaranteed a spot in tonight's race. They're all going to have to race their way in if they want to make it.
Absolutely. So the way qualifying works here in HTL is single car runs. We kind of get to see all of it as it unfolds. The qualifying order is inverted from the race finish of last week. Obviously, the top 5, all of them did not race last week. Zach Woods, he didn't officially take the start. So for everyone that didn't start last week, or in most of the charter entries that failed to qualify for last week's race, they're front and center. They're at the front, and some drivers, depending on who you talk to up and down the paddock, they're not going to be happy with starting or starting the qualifying queue. They would rather be somewhere either mid-pack or at the very end. They want to see what the first laps are going to be like here.
Yep, and you know what? There's always going to be a lot of people that are. It's just the way it is. You know, the drivers will complain that they were the first ones to qualify. They complain that they were the last ones to qualify. They complain that they had to qualify when the wind was at a soft ocean breeze northward. Like it's racing. Race car drivers will always complain when there's a variable. But at the end of the day, as we see this huge group start to line up as we get ready to start sending cars off, this is one of the cool things to see about HTL, because we get to send them kind of off one by one. We get those lines of drivers, but yeah, no, it's going to be fun to watch. And William Britton trying to get out there and get Stepping Stone Motorsports another car in the field tonight. Number 64 has a previous best finish of 12th, so has had some experience in HTL, and I think that's what Stepping Stone will be looking for. As the Oregon native takes on to the back straightaway, and I think you're going to see very quickly how much it matters to get your line right.
We'll see what happens here. Obviously, warm-up lap and then one flying lap. You do not have a chance to recover from any mistakes. And as you mentioned earlier, Chrissy, there's no duels. You don't get to race your way in. If you mess up qualifying, that's it for you. So he's got to be very careful. Any wall tap, anything, any slight spins can send you right down the order and put you right in danger. And for him, last place he wants to be right now.
Yeah, it's better to run a bad lap than have a good lap and clip the wall and get nothing on the board whatsoever. Obviously, you'd want to have a good lap that goes on the board, but very interesting to see him use all the way down to the apron in 1 and 2, yet not through 3 and 4. Of course, the banking's a little bit wonky at Michigan. Coming down on the apron, though, that is allowed in qualifying. You see that big jump that car takes. Obviously going to shoot to the top of the leaderboard as he's the first one to run a lap. We'll see what that time does. It's hard to say whether it's fast or not right this second, but nice lap time nonetheless from William. We'll see if it stands.
Josh Gaiman, the next car out on the track at the moment. Another Stepping Stone Motorsports car. The first 3, all the same team. Only driver safe for that team is Jacob Shangle, who raced last week at Daytona, got taken out early on, tried to persevere, but hoping for a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joshua Gaiman, of course, needs no introduction. He's a man of many talents, and I think it would be a shock if he does not get that 61 car in the show. He's somebody that you can really rely on to get a car in the show as he starts his lap here. He's one of those drivers that you can rely on. He actually finishes his lap, rather, and takes provisional pole position from teammate William Britton. But yeah, very good lap from him, and it looks like it's quite a bit faster than his teammate. It looks like 4/10 faster, and as I was just mentioning, he's the kind of driver who can put a car that's not in the show in a really good position to make it, and it's that kind of those kind of runs that make a big difference for Stepping Stone, and that's why they have him as one of their head drivers. Brandon Proudfoot was up at the top of the leaderboard in practice. We'll see if that'll translate here as well for him. He has no HTL Cup Series experience. This is his first race here.
Yeah, this is very
provided he makes it.
Yeah, provided he makes it. Yeah, but right now, we'll see how it looks. Gaiman top of the board, 39.5 for Gaiman. Look at Proudfoot. Cross the line for him.
Looked like he hesitated a bit, like he wanted to go to the apron and decided not to.
That's not a good lap, 40.4.
Yeah, it looked like it wasn't a fully committed lap. You saw the hesitation there on the front stretch? That obviously isn't going to cost that 9/10s, but that is not going to be ideal for him. Here comes Eli Sasek, another driver who we know is very fast, of course, has seen plenty of success in the open wheel side of things with the ABN Hyper Formula Championship. One of my co-drivers I race against. Always fun to race against him. And it's his home series race here, his hometown race from Grand Rapids. And he's also making his debut, provided he can qualify. We'll see what he can do on the oval on the high banks.
Yeah, right now
Notice
we're
he
waiting.
gets...
Good?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was just going to say, notice how he actually got down below that seam and almost got down to that yellow-white line in 3 and 4. We'll see what that does for the lap time for him. I imagine it's going to put him P2, and it does. He's 1/10, I believe, off of Gaiman, but pretty safely ahead of Britton and Proudfoot. Now, this is the point, if I'm not mistaken now, as Alistair Kirk's coming across, Gaiman's now locked in the show.
Correct, yes.
So that's how critical it is, because you only need to beat the 3 guys that you're racing against here. So Alistair Kirk has 4 career wins in this series. Pretty great numbers from someone who is not from the States, one of the few drivers that is not from the USA. The Tombstone number 51 machine screaming down the backstretch. Now watch here. I wonder if he's going to try to use that very low lane in 3 and 4, or if he's going to stay in that second groove. They're moving around quite a bit. Look at that, actually. He's going to run very high in the very middle and try and take that momentum down the front straightaway. I think I heard him crack the throttle just a little bit, so we'll see if this lap's going to be good or not. At the line, that Ford Mustang's going to come across for third. So
Sasek safe.
Yeah, Sasek is also safe.
Yeah, all the top, really the top 6. With Zach Woods coming out on track now, none of them are chartered cars.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is kind of make or break right now, then, isn't it? This is pretty much, I think at this point, Proudfoot and Britton more or less going to start packing their bags. Maybe not quite Britton. He's very attentively looking at the screen right now, but Zach Woods coming across the line.
There's only one car left in this group that is not locked in, and that's George Jewell, who got a top 10 at Daytona. He's the only other non-chartered car.
Oh, yeah, and I think he will be a decent shot to make it. He's running that high momentum. Zach Woods here. I don't know. It's going to be pretty tight towards the bottom of the field, I reckon. I would think Kirk is going to hold on, so it's either going to be Kirk or I think Kirk and Jewell will make it. I'm not sure if Woods is going to have enough. That turn 1 and 2 looked a bit off, but I've been wrong before.
Yeah, it was behind Britton.
It just wasn't quite enough, so that's not going to be enough for Woods at this point. So Proudfoot and Woods, I believe, are done.
That's what it's looking like so far.
Here is a chartered driver, though. That is Jim Oot. So this is more just a little less drama, a little more just see where he qualifies, that number 65 machine. Has a best finish of 10th from Chicagoland, but has found himself at the front many times before. Almost won Daytona, and oh my goodness, this the way they launched the cars here, this could be interesting. Caitlin Height not too far ahead of Jim Oot. That might either give Oot just a little bit of tow, but could also give a little bit of dirty air. I'm not sure if they launched those cars a little out of sync. We'll see what that does for his lap time, but across the line, Jim Oot is going to slide to P5. So it didn't seem to make that big of a difference, but now Katie Height starts her lap. 2-time winner in HTL for Arrowhead Racing. And the Sebastian Vettel tribute machine. Right up against that safer barrier and right down into turn number 3. Gets the left sides on that seam, starts to scoot up the track just a bit. Not sure if that's by intent or not. Now she's going to hook it down to the bottom. Got the wind speed up and temperatures and all that on the right-hand side. Cross start finish. It's going to be P2 right behind Gaiman. So not too bad at all for Caitlin Height. Started on the front row at Daytona. Matt Parker's now in the number 32 with that beautiful tribute car. Also has 2 career wins in HTL. Be looking for a third tonight. See how he gets into 1 and 2. You'll notice that he's going to stay above that seam gets right down on it. Most of these drivers are not going to use that bottom in 1 and 2 because there's less banking down there. Interestingly, though, you can use the bottom of the banking in 3 and 4 pretty reliably, but some drivers have opted not to do that. It might not be the fastest way with all this heat, Carmen.
Yeah. You think about like how sensitive these tires are. They're lower profiles. We watch Parker's getting ready to finish his lap here. The tire fall off, especially when you're qualifying, is so much more severe.
Parker's jumps to 5th.
Yep, right behind Alistair Kirk. But the
Moutre is up next, by the way.
Yeah, Moutre is up next. There's Ryan Moutre for Tombstone Motorsports. But the fall off is so much more severe that you think about like Daytona, how important it is. Like that first lap's important. You put a lot more load on the tires here. Because it is like the banking, it's not as banked as what you see at Daytona. You like what Ryan Moutre just did, where he just slid up out of turn 2. All of that scrubs grip out of the tire, and that's what makes qualifying so important, is being able to manage that and avoid situations like that, because he can't even get to the bottom now.
Well, I think he might have went for that late apex, which was similar to what we just saw Parker's do. He was out of the throttle. Of course, they're going to have off-throttle time. You're going to be expecting that with these baby spoilers. So it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to go right behind Kirk. So he does just barely outdo Parkhurst, and he'll now take 5th. So not even a bad time as we now look at Jacob Shangle. These cars they are a lot different. They're a little more, well, like a stock car should be. You gotta lift in the corners. You can move around a lot. When you have to lift, it gives you the opportunity to move around, and see how Shangle tried to get down to the bottom there and couldn't quite hold it. That is an example of maybe why they weren't running down there. It might just be too hot. Did a good job to hang on to it, but that's gonna hurt his time quite a bit. And he's gonna be second to last.
Shangle down in 10th.
And that was that wiggle. You saw it there, Carmen, into turn number 3. It just stepped out from underneath him. Wes Fuller now coming to the start-finish line for Titletown Racing, who I believe has defending the win at this track. That team is anyway.
Yeah, correct. Titletown is Dylan McDonald was the winner of this track last season, but he's on his own team now.
Interesting to note, you just saw Wes Fuller throw it down there on that very, very bottom through 1 and 2. So it is a little bit different. You saw how violently that car shook around and rattled around. Let's see what he does through 3 and 4 this time. Got to get down real deep, right down there on that yellow line. This is probably going to be a pretty good lap, I would reckon.
Yeah, this is a contender for pole lap. I think all the momentum they can gather goes down the front straightaway onto the apron.
Definitely going to be a top 5 time, and it's going to be 5th exactly. Well, there you go. I believe it's Lily Pelletier Sharp up next in the 23 machine on her HTL Series debut. A little bit out of the water tonight. We'll see what the NFG driver can do on her temporary contract. Clips that seam really nicely. She struggled a bit through here, but I think that was on longer runs and in race situations. So here they come down the back straightaway. She's going to try and arc it in. I wonder if she's going to try to go to the bottom or not. She was very disciplined on the seam in 1 and 2. Going to ride the middle. Nice transition through 3 and 4. Not a whole lot of momentum off the corner, but not a bad lap either. And when you're making your debut, can't complain too much with that. Let's see where it puts her.
P4.
Puts her 4th. Very nicely done by Pelletier Sharp.
That's the thing. The laps that seem fast, they're the ones that are a little bit more wily. She was very planted there, very conservative. And when you're playing with a chartered entry, it's like playing with house money. Like, you know you're in, it's just a matter of where you're starting. So she can kind of figure that out, and she did a really good job of figuring out how she wanted to qualify here.
Yeah. Keep an eye on Scott Poznansky, who's qualifying right now. The Deep Racing driver has a career best finish of 3rd at Fontana. This track a bit like Fontana. He's getting very comfortable with the wall. He didn't touch it, though, so he's A-okay. Down the back straightaway. It might have cost him some time, but the car is safe, at least, as he extends car. Washing up the hill just a little bit. We've had a lot of drivers talking about how tight this car was. We'll see if he can at least convert that to some momentum out of turn 4, down to the apron. Number 19 car at the stripe, straddling that white line and at the line. It's going to be 7th. Not bad at all for Poznansky.
Yeah, not bad. And one thing kind of to note as we look at Dustin Hall now as he starts his run for Team Connie,
Winningest driver.
Yeah, winningest driver by one race over Frankie Barroso. Poznanski, he is a deep racing driver. He is their alternate if one of their drivers can't make it. They struck up a deal on Thursday before New Year, as you saw.
Sorry to cut
Dustin
you off
Hall.
there, Carmen. Dustin got down there on that differential. You saw straddling that seam, and the car stepped out from underneath him. A very nice job to not hit the wall, but that is going to destroy the lap for Dustin Hall. I would not be surprised if he's not even in the top 10 when he comes across. If he did, he had a good 3 and 4. But I think it's not going to be a very good effort here. He did a great job not to hit that wall, but you could see it walking up the racetrack.
Pole position.
He got pole position. Well, now that makes me scared, because what could have been if he didn't walk up the track there? But he was committed enough to not hit the wall. I'm eating my words. Congratulations to Dustin Hall. Very well done.
Pole position for the Team Conti driver. Wow, that was a scary lap. But confidence to the highest standard for Dustin Hall.
I mean, I'm impressed that he kept the foot in it. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Here's Failer up against the wall there. Very, very nice job by Dustin Hall.
Wow.
Who we may speak to. If it stands, we're going to speak to the pole sitter in between qualifying and the setup for the race. Look at Thad Failer getting all the way down there in 3 and 4. Straddles that just a little bit. You can watch them actually come off that banking differential in that camera angle. It's a really nice angle. You can watch it. There is a little bit in 3 and 4. It just grips a little bit better. Failer 9th, not bad at all for him. The rookie in the top 10 as we are nearing halfway through the cycle. Matt Boone up next in the 83, but another Titletown driver and reigning champion. So, yeah, sorry, Carmen, go ahead and finish what you were saying earlier.
No, you're good. Obviously, I was talking about Poznanski. He's a deep racing backup driver, but he's filling in the number 19. Open slot available, deep racing, NFG Motorsports worked out a deal before New Year's to get Poznanski in the car and get him a secured entry, because Poznanski drives the number 12 regularly, but it's an unchartered car. So Poznanski, obviously they want to get him some track time. Easiest way to do that, put him in an empty charter, and NFG had just happened to have 2 empty seats, and Poznanski's in one of them, and he did a really good job putting it top 10 so far. But Matthew Boone, top 4, making it a little more difficult.
Very, very nicely done from Boone in the 83. Cody Giles, another heavy hitter name. The rookie was on fire at Daytona all through Speed Weeks. See what he can do. Very nice arc. Let's see if he uses that first or second groove. He's going to opt to straddle the seam with the left sides again. Really good arc here. I think we got a really good opportunity here. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's going to be... It looked like the same line as Hall's, but a little more stable. So let's see what he can do through 3 and 4 here. See that backfire, the flames shooting out of the side, off the throttle. He's already back on the throttle. Carrying it very nicely here. Should be a pretty good lap if I'm not mistaken for Cody. Cool angle there.
Yeah.
Across the line for the number 6. It's going to be 6th place for car number 6, so not nearly as fast as Hall, but a very nice lap indeed for Cody to put him inside the top 10 pretty safely. Zach McBride up next, the Mississippi rookie. We've seen some highlights and lowlights from McBride already this season. Had a wild Speed Weeks, to say the least.
Absolutely wild, yeah.
Looking to...
He's another unsafe driver.
And so he already kind of knows where, the cards are. He knows where things lie, so...
That's the cool thing about this, is we see McBride holding the middle again.
Oh, he's sliding up a bit, though.
That's not a great one. He's going to have to get off the throttle here.
Well, we saw that happen with the 3 car. I don't know how much he got out of the throttle. We saw... Hall scooted up the track and he kept his foot in it, so I think it might be more about keeping your foot in it than it is necessarily the line, but it's not going to be great. But he does beat Britton, Woods, and Proudfoot, so that might be enough to make him in.
Yeah, he is safe.
So he'll just barely make it. Zach McBride by the skin of his teeth. That's not the first time he's done that this season.
Britton's on the hot seat still.
Yeah. Dylan McDonald from Indiana, just a little over in the neighbor state for Rage Motorsports. Right down there on that yellow line. I love watching qualifying at Michigan because everybody approaches it so differently.
It's a lot of fun. Like, this is a track, obviously you see the different lanes that you can take. You can make just about any of them work if you're brave enough. And obviously we saw Dustin Hall full of bravery, got him to the top of the board. McDonald a little bit more safe. I'm not sure.
Very aggressive.
I wasn't sure about that, but should still be a decent lap for him.
Yeah, that's a very good lap. Yeah, 7th place. I think those are one of those moves where the shortest way around obviously is the fastest way around, as one wise man once said in an IMSA hot lap. But I will say that jerking the wheel that hard to get down there as John Gutekunst comes to Christ, yeah, it does hurt the momentum a bit. Another Michigan native here, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. This is John Gutekunst's home track. Obviously, a lot of drivers from Michigan, this is their home track, either this or Belle Isle.
Oh, you could see the back end step out on Gutekunst a little bit. He never lifted, though. We'll see what he can do.
That's the great thing to do. Like, that's like Dustin Hall's lap. He didn't lift in 1 and 2.
Well, that's the thing. These drivers... Oh, that might be interesting. He might go for a late apex and carry that down. I'm not sure if that's going to help him or not. Typically, the low end there is going to be faster in a quali trim, but I've already been wrong once tonight. We'll see what he can do. Across the line for the number 53, it's going to put him where?
16th.
16th. So, yeah, I don't think that high lane was necessarily the go. But Gutekunst is a fast driver. I'm sure he will find his way back to the front when needed. Gary Donaldson. 43 career starts on the other side of the country is where he lives. He's in uncharted territory here at Michigan. Number 22 machine. Ryan Pennell drove that car in Daytona, if I'm not mistaken, and Donaldson had to get out of the throttle big time there. You can see the car take off up the racetrack. This is going to cost him a lot because now he has to sit all the way down the straightaway and try to build up all that speed. It got so much into a condition of understeer for him. Still looks like it might be understeering a bit as he's sitting pretty much in the middle of the racetrack here. Coming down across start-finish line through the Geico restart zone. Again, they can use the apron here.
19th.
And yeah, he lost so much time, unfortunately, in 1 and 2. It just tightened up on him, and it was never going to happen. Tyler Woodard is next, though. Another Michigan native, this time from Battle Creek.
I believe he's another 1776 guy, too. So
correct.
Most of that team is out of the Great Lakes states.
Mm-hmm. Watch that differential. He's out of the throttle. He's feathering it off there, so he might have been able to save a little bit of time, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's not the fastest lap out of the 77 machine, but we'll see what he does in 3 and 4. You can make up time in 3 and 4 if you have a bit of a poor 1 and 2. Trying to keep it low, opting to keep it low. Now he lets it fade up a bit. Now back down to the apron and across the restart zone. So far, by the way, it's Hall, Gaiman, and Height, the top 3. Boone in 4th to complete that second row. Woodard's going to put it at 11th. Not bad at all for the number 77 machine.
Caleb Collins, John Deere machine for him, a new look for him.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a new look because he's had some controversy after that last race, but
this is a throwback to a scheme that gave me a lot of grief on our PlayStation 4 days.
Yeah, well, I can promise you that this one is correctly colored, Carmen.
We'll see what he can do here. Obviously, a little bit of controversy between him and Caitlin Height. The last couple weeks have not been kind for this team. McDonald sitting 7th at the moment. Collins trying to join him in that group.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Caleb not really fazed too much by the drama that may have been sparked there. I was in some of the official races and in some hosted races, and I ran into him about 3 or 4 times throughout that. Didn't say much to him because I'm pretty sure he probably doesn't know who I am, but he's going to go ahead and put that car up into, what is that? It's just behind Failer.
Yep,
so
P14.
Not too bad at all. He's just doing his thing, driving his car. And sometimes that's all you need to do to avoid controversy. Zachary Meredith, another one of the English drivers.
Dual nationalist.
NFG. Mm-hmm.
British American. Series rookie.
Had a
Motorsports.
Had a mixed race at Daytona. Or at least I should say a mixed speed weeks. Had a lot of highlights and lowlights in that team. Walks up the racetrack, but keeping the throttle pin, keeping the momentum in it, right up against the wall, using all the racetrack, and then back down. Let's see what he's got. Across the line for number 39. Fifth. Very nicely
Really good
done
lap.
for Zach Meredith.
Toyotas are in full force. 3rd, 5th, 6th, 9th, and 13th. The Toyotas
And
have qualified.
And that doesn't surprise me, because even though this is a fixed series, it's not like these guys aren't trying to share notes with each other. Obviously, a lot of them teammates. So Kevin Gibney Jr. now takes the flag for Deep Racing. He's got 1 win in Richmond. I guess if we were really stretching for something, you could say that Richmond is the same shape, at least. It's the same track shape. This is like a, you put Richmond under a telescope? I don't know. But if Gibney Jr. going to try and put that 31 car, at least I would imagine in the top 10. Little bobble through 3 and 4, though. Walks it up the track and brings it back down to the apron.
Gibney's an interesting character. We'll see what his lap time is. He's so good at the short ovals, and those are the ones that are more technical. But you give him something simple, and it's like teaching something for the first time. It's really interesting seeing what he thrives at. He is a character, 100%. It's 16th for him, not a bad run. Just really interesting seeing how well he shines on the short ovals, and versus how much it seems like he struggles, especially when we get in the long runs. It seems like he'll struggle more with tire wear going into this evening.
Matt Smith coming out of turn 2, starting his lap for that number 29 machine. And I just want to point out, Carmen, you said 16th, not a bad run. And you're right, it's not. But I just want to point out that we're saying 16th is not a bad run. How many leagues can you say that for? Usually 16th is last in a lot of leagues, and we have a full field, and we're sending guys home tonight.
Yep. Yeah, we're sending 3 cars home tonight. The 35
Michigan.
The 35 Hunter Whitlock, not present according to my information.
Smith puts it right behind Oot and right ahead
Wow.
of Donaldson.
And they're playing with a little bit of house money here. Dalton Hayes up next. He finished 12th at Daytona.
A car that, well, if the 96 gets pole position, I'm sure there's going to be some words spoken about how that one came to be with the ABN adornments. But
Totally legal TRD motor. Totally legal.
Do you want to win this race, or do you want to win this race?
But
Dalton Hayes. Dalton Hayes, the rookie, very high I rating, very nice up in the upper quadrant of the I rating spread for these drivers. We'll see what he can do in that machine. Reminds me of the old Dale Jr. Amp Energy orange car.
That's what it's based off of.
Yeah, looks brilliant.
19th, though.
Not too bad.
Toyota.
Yeah, right around the middle is where he's going to end up. Shad Swatsworth in another Dale Jr. kind of inspiring car. Not quite exactly inspired by it, but
There's
the Mountain
a lot
Dew
of
car makes me think that.
There's a lot of throwbacks, because Alistair Kirk's running one as well. Obviously, this was the side of his 2008 win, his first win when he moved to Hendrick. So some throwbacks
like
there.
200 and something race winless streak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Granted, that was in the Batman car. I do remember that one very well. But Swatsworth in the Mountain Dew machine with a little bit of shatter pattern, a little fleck tarn. It looks very nicely done with the spec map. That number 4 shines beautifully with the specs and everything on it. Very close to the wall for Shad, but he's going to bring it down to the apron, and that's the margins you have to play with. He's got 2 wins to his name in HTL, and he's going to put it in P3. That's what happens when you leave an inch between the wall and don't hit it.
A lot of bravery, but that's what you need here at Michigan to get the upper echelons there. Dustin Hall showed it. Josh Gaiman had it. Now Shad Swatsworth joining the second row.
Yeah, and final non-charter driver here, George Jewell, out of Lakeview, Michigan. So one more Michigan native. I'm sure he'd love to make his home race in that machine. Did great at Daytona. Minded his P's and Q's, didn't get caught up in too much trouble. Coming down the back straightaway now. Just driving for himself, a journeyman driver, George Jewell is. and trying to ride that momentum from Daytona. Obviously a bit different here. Still hold his head high even if he doesn't make the race tonight, but I know he would love to. He gets that car really nice off. It looked like a good lap, but we'll see what the timing is. He's got to beat a lot of fast drivers to get in.
Top 10. He did it.
He's done it, and I think that might push out.
It sends Proudfoot, Woods, and Britton home.
Yeah, Britton was in the chat too, sweating a bit. Unfortunately, it is going to be an early exit for him. But how about George Jewell?
Top 10. He can wheel it. He can 100% wheel it.
Tommy Withers in a beautifully done car for Tombstone Motorsports. The Husky
41.
number 41. Another one of the Henderson Graphics painted cars. Henderson, a phenomenal artist.
There's a lot of really good cars. You look at Henderson, you look at GooseGraphics, they make just all the cars in this field as far as the paint schemes go.
They sponsor this race as well. Yeah.
Yeah, GooseGraphics, John Gutekunst's behind that. Obviously, this is his home race. So.
Withers across the line.
P15.
Very nice. Not too bad at all.
Well, you look at, we got 31 cars. He's sitting smack dab in the middle. That's not too bad.
Here's Tyler Rex from Clyde, Ohio, just about a 6-hour drive away, I'd say, from where we are tonight, and I believe looking to try and carry the momentum from Daytona, but I think it's going to be a bit harder for him to put that car in the front row this weekend.
Yeah, it's hard, but not impossible. He rides up and he tags the wall. He won't set a time. He'll start 36th.
Yeah, he does a good job hanging on to it, but I'm surprised that's honestly the first mistake we've seen tonight. I was almost expecting more people to have mistakes, but just saw that car push up the racetrack, and that's all it takes. Now, what's interesting here is he's going to have to get out of the way and get off the track because Blake Henderson is in turn 3 right now, and this is one of those rare things where when you have a crash, it kind of throws things out of whack with the syncing of how these cars were. I think it's going to just work itself out, but speaking of beautiful paint schemes, there's old Blake Henderson. He's got 3 wins, looking for a 4th tonight, and he's going to cross the line and take that black and yellow machine. A little bit of splatter painting on it. Off into turn 1, and look at how deep into turn 1 he gets. It's going to start taking off up the hill. Can he keep his foot in it? Can he stay committed? He will.
Throwback. It's an ode to the new Metallica album, Lux Eterna. Looking good. But can he make it qualify good? That's the big question. He put it out there in turn 1 and 2, which is kind of the theme. You have to hang it out somewhere.
Really, really tidy through 3 and 4, but was it too tidy? Did he leave a little bit hanging out there? Nice transition back down to the bottom, and at the line, car number 25 is going to go 17th, so he did leave a lot out there. Maybe got a little bit sideways on exit. Not what he was looking for in the number 25. Here's Bryce Bohr. Had a whole host of issues with handling in that practice session. Slid around a bit. Had some difficulties, especially down the backstretch. We remember both of us were watching out the booth as they were doing their qualifying session. Nearly had to go to the backup car. He had a spin down the back straightaway. He tried to save it about 3 or 4 times until he got to about here and finally lost the back end of the number 1 machine. That Tribe Motorsports car. Gonna try and put down a good qualifying position. Gets safely down into that second groove. Already back in the throttle. Going to be a really nice launch out of turn 4, but is it going to be enough to put him in the top 10 or have a go at pole? It's going to be hard to knock Hall off of the top spot. It's going to be a good effort, though. P5 for Bohr.
Top 5. There you go. Alfred Denny up
next.
Jeez.
Yeah. I'm already drinking a Coke. I guess you could have the rest of it if you want.
I'm drinking a Coke, too. Coke, sponsor us. Denny doing a good job so far, starting his lap.
Yeah, he's looking to get something to bark about in this qualifying run. A beautiful car. One of the prettier cars on the grid. So elegant. Lots of bright colors. Love watching that thing circulate around the racetrack. Gets right up against the wall. We know Denny can get it done. Already has a win to his name from Speed Weeks. Of course, that didn't count for points, but it did count for pride, and it proved that he can get that car to victory lane. Granted, he was in a completely different car when it happened. The number 21 this time by, though, at the line, going to be Not quite what he was looking for.
Only 32nd. Yeah, Deep Racing had 3 cars in the top 5 at Daytona. Not going to be so fortunate, at least for the start of this race here tonight. Angel Santiago from Deep Racing, another Deep Racing car.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to see if he runs a different line here, since we just saw Alfred Denny. I wonder if they're all kind of running the same line or running different lanes. So his left side's down, almost goes all the way down to that first groove, but looks like he holds it very nicely right up against the wall. But it's
Dustin
nicely
Hall.
held.
Very much like Dustin Hall right there. Let's see if
He did not lift. Yeah, he did not lift, so it's looking very nice here. It's about 3 and 4 now, though. You can give up too much time. He opts to keep it hooked right down on the bottom. He's not letting it fade up any, in fact. Comes down here. I think that might cost him, but I'm not sure. At the line, Santiago, car number 9, he's going to go P10. That 1 and 2 was electric. I think he left a little too much out on there on the racetrack in 3 and 4, but nothing to scoff at whatsoever. A great effort from Santiago, and into P10. Here's Gonzalez.
3rd place finisher from Daytona last week.
Yeah, a little bit of a different look on that car this weekend. What can he do in that Ford Mustang? I could hear the tires. That you could see it as well. The rear end hooked out just a little bit. Not enough to hurt that lap time, though, but he was definitely sliding a little bit. Was a little bit off the throttle, but not too bad. These guys and girls are wheeling the hell out of these race cars. Remember, you see how small that spoiler is. We are no longer in the era of infinite downforce. These cars hate to grip up. Gonzalez at the line, gonna wheel it, put it in 10th, and knock out who we just saw hop into 10th. So Gonzalez will boot Santiago out of the top 10, and we'll see what old Dean Clavitt can do.
2nd place last week. Obviously, he was the 2022 race winner at Daytona. But looking for a little bit more.
The Canadian coming out of turn number 2. Nice and tidy. Starting to run out of cars here. Yeah.
There's Dean Cloud and then John Garrett in the Chevrolet. Those are the last 2.
And I think that being said, John Garrett could be a dark horse, but I think Hall looking pretty good here. Gaiman looking pretty good for a front row start, which is incredible for a non-charter driver. Dean Clavitt with a good effort, puts him 13th, but just outside the top 10, but not bad at all for that Castrol machine. And here he is, John Garrett from Tyler, Texas, the rookie for Fort Worth Screen Esports, coming out of turn number 2 right now. Car looks so much like the old IROC cars from 2006 with that gold and purple. I think that's exactly what it's a throwback to, in fact. Looks beautiful. So number 55, oh, you can just see it starting to kick out a little bit. Keeps it under control, keeps it disciplined. Look at that there, moves off the wall down the back straightaway, trying not to get into that air pocket. Enters a bit shallow, though, into 3 and 4. It's going to push him up the hill. That could hurt him a bit. Let's see if he can get a good run out of turn number 4, though. Keeps it on the high lane. That didn't work earlier when we saw it, but John Garrett going to try and make it happen at the line. Last one to qualify. Where's he going to be?
28th.
28th. Not too bad.
But it's Dustin Hall getting pole position.
Yeah. With a lap that really looked, it almost looked like it was not going to come together for him. It reminds me of the Singapore Grand Prix in 2019 when Charles Leclerc got pole. That lap looked unbelievably out of control, but it was fast, and that's all that mattered. And it just shows sometimes nice and tidy wins the race. Sometimes it's just driving the wheels off of it, and that's exactly what that number 3 car did, and it's going to be a pole position for the winningest driver in HTL. Dustin Hall on the point tonight.
Absolutely. This is what the results look like. Obviously, we're starting a little bit further down than we need to. But here you go. Dustin Hall, top of the board, 39.506. Good enough by 16 milliseconds to the best Josh Gaiman on his debut. But Gaiman in a really good start on his HTL debut. He'll start second ahead of Chad Swatsworth and Caitlin Height rounding out row 2. Well, obviously, we'll take a look at the starting grid a little bit more in depth once we get closer to race time. But there's your top 18. And then as we kind of scroll on down, obviously you see Gonzalez just got into the top 10, doing really good as he adjusts to Tattletown Racing. Gets Santiago 11th, Dylan McDonald, last year's race winner here, sitting in the top 12. George Jewell, an electric run for the uncharted car, as he puts it in 14th place at the finish. But then you look a little bit further down the order, and you see how bad it gets. There are 39 cars that try to run a lap at least. Heller Rex crashed in his run, but he's a chartered car, so he's locked in. It's Brendan Proudfoot, Zach Woods, and William Britton that unfortunately do not make tonight's race here in Michigan. The GooseGraphics 200.
Yeah, I find it very much interesting. It seems like what we see in the open wheel, the Stepping Stone Motorsport stable, such a unique group. They have such good drivers to try and train those newer drivers. It's obviously why it's called Stepping Stone Motorsport, and much as what we see them do in Champ Car competition, they seem to bookend the field. They have drivers in the top 3 and the bottom 3 almost in everything they do. So very, very interesting to see that happen again and add to that. But you know what? You got to hand it to James Ray, the owner of Stepping Stone Motorsports. He can pick some pretty fast drivers to try and lead that team in the right direction. And as it continues to spread its fingers into different forays of motorsport and different disciplines, they can put them on the front in every single one. So such an interesting group, such an interesting story for that team, but a fun one nonetheless. So they have a couple going home, but they do have one on the front row tonight. So
yeah, duality of being a team in HTL. Not every team is safe, and obviously we see that tonight. Obviously we've got warm-up going on right now as everyone gets ready for the race itself. With it being knockout qualifying, it was go or go home. The race is in a completely different iRacing lobby for those that are unfamiliar to the behind the scenes. So all the admins here in HTL setting up the starting grid for the actual race lobby. But everyone here getting some time to practice the car a little bit more, dial it in, see what they did wrong, or see how they can adjust for the race. 100 laps. It's a lot of time to correct any mistakes you made in qualifying. It's a lot of time for those in the front to try to walk away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we can here, I would love, as we have Dustin Hall on the screen in that number 3 car, would love to play this out in full speed. Just take a look at this pole run. This is such an interesting one to watch because, of course, me and you both watched this number 3 step up the hill in 1 and 2. This is coming to the green flag. So it gets a really nice run out of 3 and 4, which I think we didn't give enough credit to because of how quickly the shuffling was incredibly important. You had to get a good run coming into turn 1 and 2. Yeah. And here we go. Watch this here. Watch how deep he gets in the corner. Just gets down on that seam. Now watch this. Wiggle. Walks up the hill an inch off the wall. So much he actually pulled it off the wall, almost overturned the car. Had a little bit of oversteer off the corner because of how hard he turned it, but had just an inch in there. Of course, Team Conti, Michael Conti, the NASCAR driver, putting some backing into this team. So it's no surprise that Dustin Hall has some pace. And look at how much room he left to the outside wall out of 4. Brought it down nicely. It doesn't look like it should work, but it does, and that shows how much talent Dustin Hall has. He left it all out there. He left it all hung out, and it got him a pole position. So very nicely done indeed for the number 3 machine. Definitely one to be proud of. And yeah, not much else to say to that one other than kudos.
Yeah, phenomenal by Dustin Hall to get pole position. I am actually curious here if we're actually in the race lobby. It doesn't seem like it's resetting.
Yeah, it seems like we might be rolling straight into this bad boy. And it says it's gridding, and they're all starting to grid, so I think they might just say, hey, don't show up if you didn't qualify. and they might be going on with the show here. So that being said, we saw the pole lap from Dustin Hall. I think we might as well have another look through our full starting grid, because it looks like we might be going green flag racing here.
Yeah, it does look like it. Dustin Hall, Josh Gaiman, front row. Shad Swatsworth and Caitlin Height in row 2. Yeah, we are getting ready to go here. The lights just went red on the timing board, so that means we are about to start formation lap. Everyone's here and ready to go. Bryce Bloor and Matthew Boone, row 3. Meredith and Sasic on his debut will line up alongside his at least temporary teammate, Zach Meredith, row 4. Cody Giles and Ricky Gonzalez. Gonzalez podiumed last week at Daytona. Can he do it again? Not a bad spot to start from. He's in 10th. And then Angel Santiago and Dylan McDonald round out row 6. As we look a little bit further down, Kristina, who you got in this group?
Yeah, I mean, you look at guys like D. Clavitt, George Jewell, very fast drivers. Jewell, the underdog and a half. You got Pelletier Sharp making a debut. We'll see how she does with so many drivers around her. Of course, this track that promotes so much 3 and 4 wide racing. She's going to be baptized by fire tonight. We'll see how she handles that. Alistair Kirk, Wes Fuller, Tyler Woodard, all a bunch of very solid drivers. Tommy Withers, Scott Poznanski. We know how Poznanski gets hungry when opportunity is at the doorstep. You get Blake Henderson, always a threat. Thad Failer, Caleb Collins, Kevin Gibney Jr., all looking for a good opportunity tonight. Moutre and Parker, a bit further down than I think either of them wanted to be. Dylan Hayes and John Garrett there as well. You've got McBride, who has just sneaked into this one. And then Gutekunst, Oot, Smith and Donaldson, and Alfred Denny as well. Of course, this is where some of those go or go home drivers are sprinkled in, so it's a bit hard to see where they actually will line up in those groups. But we do have Jacob Schenkel and Tyler Rex rounding out the field. Again, some of those drivers you see like Britton and Proudfoot went home early. Carmen, take it away. We're about to go green. I think that's probably a good call because it looked like the way this is one of those starts where they get them all staggered and lined up. You saw how they were lined up in the pit lane. They were single file, basically parked Le Mans style. It takes them a very, very long time to get things sorted. When that happens, we could see that there are people rushing to get to the grid. We saw a little bit of 3-wide gaggle in the back. We do have a live admin, so good call. Delay the start. Let's not cause any issues right off the bat. It is a bit of a wet blanket here to get all excited real quick just to get a, oh, no, never mind. But rather have it redone and done right than have everybody rushing to get to the grid here. So it does give us one more second to think. Carmen, what are you looking forward to here in this first couple corners with how crazy these restarts have been? Carmen, I believe we have lost your mic on the stream, but so we're working on that real quick.
We're good. We're back.
Should be good now. Go ahead.
But
that's why they waited.
Absolutely. But as I said before, like the temperatures, stage 1's 15 laps. Just make it to the end of stage 1. Mm-hmm. Who's going to be that patient? We're going to find out. Dustin Hall, Josh Gaiman, bring us to the green flag. Here we go. Green flag in the air. We're racing at Michigan.
Yeah, you said something about patience. It's in a 15-lap stage. Good luck. I think it's going to be an absolute bloodbath in the first couple corners. Hall in the catbird seat, though. You see Gaiman up on the top trying to work around Swatsworth. You got Height in the mix as well, sitting just behind them. Single file for her. A couple cars coming off. It looks like there might have been a couple people that scraped the wall, but nobody slammed it. It looks like it's going to be clean through 1 and 2. Congratulations to the whole field with a field size this big and as many opportunities knocking. They've made it through the first couple A-OK.
As they all go through turn 4. Lap
and they're
1
all
going to
make it. Yeah. Hall leads Gaiman, Swatsworth, Height, and Boone. Every single car made it around for the end of the first lap, so they're hanging in there very nicely indeed.
Here we go.
Down the back straightaway again. A little bit of an apology to George Jewell. I think a little bit of contact in the back, but everybody still pointed in the right direction. Again, 100 laps here, 15 in the first stage. So you watch these drivers try to negotiate with one another and get to the end of the first stage safely. Not much patience, but a lot of respect out here for these drivers. Something to watch for sure. 3 wide in the background here. You can't see it on your screen, but they are fighting a little further back. There it is right there, the tail end of it. It was George Jewell working on, I think that might have been Poznanski. No, it wasn't Poznanski. It was Wood or
it was Woodard and Santiago.
Oh, and in the wall.
That was trouble, and that was Poznanski.
Yeah, Poznanski, and I think, was it?
There's no yellow yet.
I can't imagine that there wouldn't be. It's Thad Failer was the other car involved.
Everyone
That
scrambled.
is massively unfortunate. Yeah, everybody scrambled, and they did an excellent job to avoid that. Thad Failer has hit the wall very hard once again. Steering broke on the 42 machine for 1776.
Now,
I believe
remember
the
that
Idaho
this
native.
isn't over. This isn't over because, again, stage 1 ends on lap 15. Everyone's got one fast repair. So if you can hang on to lap 15, obviously Failer's going to probably go a lap down here. He has to pit to get that fixed.
He's going to probably have to tow. That's the danger here. I believe it started... Yeah, Poznanski, they both smacked the wall very hard, so I'm not surprised that they're in the pit lane. It looks like Failer and Poznanski Poznanski came up a bit. Failer was pinching pretty hard as we see the battle for the lead between Gaiman and Hall. I'm not sure if you...
Look at that battle for third.
Yeah, that's 3 wide for third place right now. This is Caitlin Height we're focused on the inside is Boone, and that making the slide job is Swatsworth. He's going to scoot up. It's a 2-car breakaway for the lead, and then they're fighting for the spots behind him. Still stays green here. Big move in the back there for position. Going to fade back in line.
It was Henderson. No, it was Withers.
It was the 41 of Withers who's trying to make some moves. Henderson was the car I thought actually got in the wall. It was the yellow and black machine, but it was Thad Failer. If you want to go split screen, we do have the replay loaded up for that one, but they 3 wide there. So yeah, on the leaders on the left-hand side of your screen, on the right-hand side of your screen in slow motion here is what we're going to see. Watch the yellow and the 2 cars on your screen here. See how the 19 is going to move up the hill just ever so slightly as Gaiman has now cleared Hall for the lead on the left-hand side of your screen in live pictures. They're still fighting that one out, rather, so it's not quite complete, but on the right-hand side, there's your contact. The 19 and the 42 get together, and they're hooked together at this point, and there's nothing you can do. Heavy impact for both of those drivers. Great job by Henderson. You see him getting a bit more lucky than good to avoid that one, but very nicely done indeed. Not a whole lot you can really get away with in that situation. It's a shame for both those drivers to be sat back so early in this one, but gonna ride on board very briefly with Thad Failer and show you one more view of this one because it's an aggressive one. Go off into turn 1 and 2. I think Thad's gonna say that, Poznanski came up. Poznanski's gonna say, we got another spinner.
And that's
he's gonna keep it off the wall. He will, so good job to keep it off the wall. I believe you said, yeah, that was Meredith that's gone around, so we'll have another look and see what happened there, but thank God for split screen, Carmen, because there's a lot to try to cover in this one.
Absolutely. Early going. Obviously, we made it 7 laps. First incident didn't cause the yellow. This one did. Zachary Meredith at 39. Most of our timing screen is going to be a little bit confused. But there's Dustin Hall.
Yeah, Gaiman is scored as the leader. They were fighting for that position when the crash came out. So
what happened, I think, so Gaiman and Hall both almost brushed the wall, and they kind of led the Congo line up the track towards the wall. And obviously, when you're 2 wide and everyone's pushing, someone's going to get clipped, and that ended up being Meredith.
Yeah, we'll see if we can have a look at it. I'm having a look personally myself. Yeah, you got it on your screen. So, yeah, there's Meredith on the outside of Height. So, remember, they were fighting each other ahead, or rather behind the leaders. We'll see here what happens through 1 and 2. Obviously, you can run 3 wide pretty reliably.
That is
Height going to get put in the middle. Oh, yeah, they just all ran out of room.
Yeah,
Meredith bounces off the wall.
And that was, I think, in front of the nose of Giles. It was either Giles or Boone.
I think it was Boone in the 83, but we'll have to double check that. So pretty heavy impact, but a good job to hang on to it and not make a bad situation worse.
Yeah, we'll
I think
see
that
if
might
we
be
can
Cody
go.
Giles, actually. I'm not too sure.
Both cars are pretty similarly colored, so they've not made it easy for us. Let's see. Yeah, Giles is behind this, so it's not Giles. Let's see if we can pick up Boone. It might be Boone.
I think it is Boone.
Right front. Yeah, this
Yeah.
might be Boone.
This will be an interesting view because you're just going to see a car come straight across. Yeah, they're all pushing up the hill, like you said, though, Carmen. They were all racing each other, and they all got in the dirty air. They all followed the driver in front of them. It's such an embarrassing-looking thing, but it's so easy to do. Every single one of them slid up the track, and some of them ran out of room. Because look ahead, look 3 or 4 cars ahead here. Watch Gaiman and Hall. They get close to hitting the wall themselves. You're going to watch Swatsworth nearly get in it. He had to get out of the gas. Height, I think, had to jump out of it, and Meredith just smacked the wall and got turned around. Rookie mistake, but some good car control there to get that thing spun around and going again. Not sure how bad the damage is, but yeah, well, I don't know. The smack to the wall is going to be pretty significant, but yeah.
It could have been a lot worse, though, is what I'm saying, because normally when you see a car shoot to the inside with how bumpy that infield is, because it's not level tarmac by any means of the imagination. It's bumpy on purpose. Sometimes it lifts the front end off the ground, and when you don't have contact on the front tires, you're not braking either, and it typically can send you straight to the inside wall, and it's going to hurt a ton when it happens.
Yeah.
You think about accidents we saw. Kyle Larson, we've seen, obviously, you look at Matt Kenseth crash. You look at just so many different accidents over the last 5 years.
Well, you even look at iRacing. You even look at iRacing regularly. It's very seldom that you can get it back with how this car is. This car loves to get stuck in a 4-wheel slide and just kind of shoot towards a wall. No matter what you do, it's one of those wrecks, especially in iRacing, where if you have a higher end wheel with some higher torque, you're going to want to take your hands off the wheel and give that one up a little before you'd like to, because those hits aren't fun. They shake you around. Of course, you have the opportunity to hit those openings for the safety crews. They need to be there for the safety crews, but unfortunately, they can cause more trouble than good. But all of that was avoided by a good piece of damage control by Zachary Meredith. He is a rookie. He is learning, but he's got a lot of talent. And I wouldn't really even say it was obviously his fault to push up and hit the wall like that, but that could have easily caught out even the most experienced driver, especially with how tight this setup has seemed to have been, and when everybody's racing the heck out of each other in a 15-lap stage. Not a lot of room to make mistakes. What this will do, though, is give us another shot at Gaiman versus Hall, because we're going to have about a 5-lap shootout. Yep. Caitlin Height might have something to do about it as well. You got Cody Giles, Gonzalez, Borer, Boone, Clavitt moving up positions, Santiago, and Hayes in 10th. Hayes is up several positions in the number 96, so we'll see what happens. Pace car going to be off, and we're about to go green for the first restart in the GooseGraphics 200.
Yeah, here we go. It's Gaiman and Hall. Front row, just a little bit inverted to the Geico restart zone. Gaiman waits as long as possible. Had to be careful not to change lane before the start-finish line.
He showed his intent.
Yeah, definitely showed his hand a little bit, but he's got the ability to do that.
It's actually opened the door for Caitlin Height. Gaiman got such a good restart. Not really sure if he really caught Hall napping or Hall just didn't get the best start on the top. And Gaiman had to jump out of the gas because he got too far up there. That allows Caitlin Height to go to the lead. Triple Tandy now down the back straightaway because Giles got into Hall, got into Gaiman. 3 wide is Santiago behind them now. Tries to take it, and he is going to take it. And now Boone slides up the hill and nearly gets into Hall.
Yeah,
they're
that was
3
almost ugly.
wide.
Almost
Clavitt
4.
down on the apron as they come out of turn number 4. The 96 push into 2. Height leads now. It is Gaiman and Gonzalez fighting for second, and then it's a dog pile behind them as they're still 3 wide trying to sort things out. And Gaiman, who had the lead a little bit too aggressive on the restart, he's going to fall back even more positions now. What's that? Santiago 3 wide. Santiago and Gonzalez racing hard. Gaiman back up to second. Hall going to come with. So that outside line seems to be the dominant line right now. Santiago and Gonzalez stuck on the bottom.
Hall almost got to the quarter panel of Gaiman, too. That was almost
Look,
dangerous.
got him loose and moved him up the racetrack. Never touched him, but got him loose and moved him up the track. Gonna allow for Hall to come back on the inside, and all of it's happening behind Katie Height, who, if this stays green, or even if they don't stay green, may just walk right into a stage win because they're still fighting each other side by side for second.
Making out like a bandit, Caitlin Height was.
4 wide,
yeah.
Santiago
And
Gonzalez. It was Giles and Gaiman for just a moment that were joining them, and now they might be 4 wide again in a second edition in a round.
Santiago didn't go around.
Saves it.
Yeah, Santiago,
They're 4 wide in front
save.
of him, though. That's the 31. Clavitt now 4 wide. Oh, gets into McDonald just a bit. They hang on to it.
They're hanging it out. 4
Swatsworth.
wide still. 4 wide still. Almost
this
in 2
is incredible.
rows.
You got Withers on the top there. There's the 96 machine. There's Gutekunst in the middle. We're coming to 2 to go. This is stage 1, guys. Take it easy. You got Dean Clavitt trying to make something happen. Of course, Gutekunst is there. Parkhurst on the bottom in the 32, just out of frame.
Dropping out. Like, he's getting side drafted on both sides. There's Withers in the 41 getting around him. We've fallen out of the top 10 with this group.
Pelletier Sharp has nearly hit the wall. She keeps it off, does a good job to hang on to it. They're starting to get single file out in the front, but it's Caitlin Height. Nothing but air. Here comes Shad Swatsworth on the bottom as they're 4 wide behind. Swatsworth just took second with a power move. Gets around Dustin Hall. Put the number 4 in second place. He gained about 3 spots in 2 corners in the number 4 machine just ahead of this.
Shad Swatsworth, he was the stage points king of 2022.
Oh, he's going to go after Height. He's going to have a go at Caitlin Height. He is absolutely screaming. Height tries to take the high side to block. Swatsworth now to the bottom. Unbelievably, he has caught her.
He took a pit stop in that caution, so he's got a couple fresh tires.
Height not going to fight that one too hard. Not sure that she even could if she wanted to. Shad Swatsworth going to come to take the stage victory over Height and Hall. Do they all keep it in one piece behind them because they're still 3 and 4 wide? Gutekunst coming up through the middle of Clavitt and McDonald. He gets a spot, and now the caution flies. And that is an incredible end to stage number 1. My goodness.
Yeah, that was insanity. And they kept it clean. They kept it clean. As clean as you could get it.
Well, we didn't keep it clean. We kept it pointed in the right direction, just about. Great save by Santiago in the number 90, flying down the apron. He is the big loser in all of this, but still has a race car to see another day. And oh, by the way, he still made his way up quite a few positions after it was all said and done. So, oh my goodness, my heart can't take much more of this. We're only on lap 15?
Oh.
Wow.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
This is why people were going home tonight. This is why so many people want to race in this series and prove themselves. This is the kind of racing you cannot get everywhere. This is the kind of racing you can only get at HTL on ABN. What an incredible 5-lap sprint. It reminded me of those old days in 2014 where everybody was battling hard. I got a little bit here. Of course, pit lane's going to open. We're going to have some takers. But I just want to go back here and look at Angel Santiago in the number 90 machine. He was 4 wide. Here's a look at it here. 4 wide, gonna take a big advantage down on the lesser banking underneath Gonzalez. And look at how this just opens up opportunities. They side draft, they touch once, twice. And now the 7 moves down, saw Gaiman hit the wall, and look at that save by Santiago. What a piece of driving by this young man. He's a bridesmaid once at Kansas, really has that energy. And look there, great job by Henderson to give just enough room. And look at this on the inside.
John Garrett.
That's Garrett passing 3, 4, 5, 6 cars in one corner with a power move to the bottom. And that's the kind of stuff that you just cannot get enough of. And how they all made it through without wrecking one another is more than beyond me. A great piece of driving by every single one in the field. And look, you can still see him shuffling around up ahead. The highlight was to showcase Santiago's save, but all up and down the field. It's been brilliant from everybody. But, wow.
Yeah,
Here is the pit stops now.
Yep, there you go. Looking at
Live.
the front. Yeah. Ooh,
watch out! Swatsworth. Nearly lost it out of the pit lane. I think he did win the battle off, but he did chirp those tires. Caitlin Height ends up well, I don't know. Height might have actually beat Swatsworth out of the pit lane, but I'm not too sure.
I mean, we'll figure it out.
We do know Cody Giles was third off, and then John Garrett, who we were just talking about. Remember, we just looked at that shot of John Garrett, who was all the way back in like the low teens when that was going on with Santiago. By the way, he is now fourth off of pit road. Gonzalez and Gibney Jr. elect to stay out in the 31 and the 7 machine. But yeah, John Garrett in the top 10 now after all that. So Fort Worth Screen Esports wasting no time getting their man up into the top 10 after a less than ideal qualifying run. But the 55 car donning shades of IROC 2006, putting it out on P1, and Swatsworth comes back into pit, and Gonzalez decides to box as well. You saw Dean Clavitt poke back as well. Santiago comes in for another round of pit stops, and I wonder if this is fuel strategy related or trying to get out of traffic related, Carmen.
Well, I mean, we'll figure it out. Obviously, everyone using the choose cone here, figuring out the lanes they want to be in. We didn't have the choose cone at Daytona, but we have it here.
Yeah, they have to either be on the apron. It's that white line at start finish. They have to either be above or below it, depending on where they go. I personally am not a big fan of that rule, but it's been implemented well enough. And of course, credit where credit's due. These are good drivers. They can at least make it work. Some of the leagues where I've seen a choose code have caused more trouble than anything else. But nevertheless, that's my own grumbling and rumblings. It's going to be Kevin Gibney Jr. alongside Caitlin Height. It's going to be Bryce Bohr behind the 31 machine. Cody Giles moved up to P4 in the number 6 machine with some big money moves. Garrett and Gaiman behind them with Hall, Parkhurst as well. So pretty stacked field here in the top 10. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, John Garrett using that Arca Menard Series experience.
Mm-hmm.
Using it to good effect right now. Third in the outside lane. It's Gibney.
Yeah, I don't think... I'm not so sure. He's used to seeing 3 of 4 wide in front of him in the ARCA series. He usually can't pull that off, but he's done a very good job indeed. But yeah, of course, coming back to the green flag here, it's in Gibney and Height's hands.
Yeah, Gibney stayed out. Height on the pressure tires. Then it's Bohr, Giles, Hall, and Garrett, top 6. To the Geico restart zone. Gibney with a good jump.
Yeah, great launch. Great
Stay.
launch, and that's critical because he was on a little bit older tires or took 2 or whatever. So off sequence from our leaders. It is single file for the first 3 cars, the 31, the 11, and the 1, but the 3 now of Dustin Hall looking to get back up in the front where he thinks he belongs and arguably does belong. That 3 car was quick early on in the stint. Here they all come down the back straightaway. Height looking to challenge Gibney Jr. and probably won't have too much of a struggle trying to get around the 31, and neither will Bohr. It's actually Hall who's in the wrong lane who has to move up midway through the corner. That's going to have some issues, and here comes John Garrett with a nice little tandy on the right-hand side of your screen, pushing the number 3 car.
Yeah, right now, really good run by John Garrett. Didn't get a chance to do anything at Daytona. Ended up having to miss it. But making up for it here, showing off what he's made of in that number 55 for 1776 as a sort of just relief driver for Nathan Estep. Trying to put that 55 in victory lane for the 2nd week in a row. Peeking to the inside of Bohr. Stays in the top lane, though.
Yeah, and he can if he wants to. Again, it's not the fastest lane as far as qualifying or lap time, but it works very well in the race. It seems to be the dominant lane, in fact, on that outside, unless you have fresher tires. Now he's going to dive down to the bottom. He's going to try and break that toe a little bit. Uses it to get a little bit more momentum to try and get up alongside and side draft that 1 car. Caitlin Height still in control in the number 11 Toyota right now, though. Slides up the hill just a little bit. She could be in trouble here.
Wide.
Yeah, she was in trouble.
To be.
Oh, aggressively side drafting with Bohr there. Oh, a little bit of contact in the back. I think that was, I think that might have been Jim Oot and McBride that got together ever so slightly. But yeah, Height got split in the middle. She tried to block 1 lane, slid up just a bit, and they ate her alive. She's already fallen outside of the top 5 now. 3 wide in front of her. Oh, big wiggle there by Bohr. Getting into the back and getting Garrett out of shape in the 55, but put John Garrett out front for the time being. 4 wide, staggered almost for 2nd place behind them.
Yeah, Boer trying to hold off Mark Parkhurst. Parkhurst on the run as well. Parkhurst knows how to do this as well.
God, this is great stuff. A little bit of a push from Hall to Borer now. Height getting her bearings back. She's back single file. Challenged now by Boone in the 83 on the bottom. He's going to slide up just ever so slightly. Height going to get that momentum and that draft, as is the one of Bryce Borer, who's going to put the bumper to Mark Parkhurst, who is going to get a huge run and maybe take it somewhere, maybe not. Hangs back behind with John Garrett. They're going to triple Tandy ever so slightly, and that's going to push John Garrett further in the corner than maybe he wanted to go. It's going to put Parkhurst with an advantage to try and clear on exit, and he will. John Garrett loses a bit of time, kind of got 2011 auto clubbed off into the corner, getting another push now by Bryce Borer. Might return the favor off into turn 3. The 55 going to send it in deep. Checks up just a bit though. 32, 55, the 3 and the 1 as they stand, and Height in 11th. That's your top 5. It's single file all the way back. But look at that. Oh, a little bit of door slamming there between who was that? Was that I think that was the 38 of McDonald and the 96 of Hayes. They kind of dinged each other there out of turn number 3. They're now 3 wide with Gaiman, and now make that 4 wide almost as Henderson looks high. Battle for the lead is Parkhurst and Garrett as they now are side by side again. There's too much going on to cover right now, but Parkhurst hangs on, and Hall now moves to second over John Garrett, who couldn't make the move stick.
There's so much going on. Like, I don't even think that the split screen is going to help us too awful much here. There's a little bit of blinking there by Dalton Hayes. Not what you want to see if you're like John Gutekunst, who's right behind
in the
him.
middle. Yeah, making a nice move through. That's Wes Fuller that he split, as well as I think that might have been Eli Sasek. And there's a wreck on the front straightaway now. Caution comes out for the second time tonight. 3, 4 cars around, and Caleb Collins is one of them. His bad luck continues. George Jewell is in it and slides in through the infield. Another car also involved was Jim Oot. Thad Failer, I think, gets through it. Gibney Jr. Is, I think, going to clear that. But several cars involved. I think Tyler Rex might have got a part of that one as well. The second caution of the day, or third caution of the day, second wreck of the day. Lap 26 of 100, just past the 1/4 mark, Carmen.
Yeah, so I say like the end of stage 2 is on lap 45. Whether or not we get to lap 45 is a completely different story. But yeah, wild times here. That was a wild opening stanza for stage 2.
Oh. Yeah, I think we
obviously
finally had our first just misjudgment here tonight. George Jewell and Caleb Collins racing. They were 3 wide with Jim Oot, and all 3 of them clobbered each other coming out of turn 4. I think it was a situation here where it was actually... I think it was Tyler Rex more or less spinning in sympathy, trying to avoid. They all got together, and it was like a 3 wide stack up. I'll see if we can get a look at this in a moment. Trying to find a good look at it here, but it all started with Jewell and Collins getting up and into Jim Oot. Pit lane about to open up for the 3 of Hall. See if he'll lead them down here, and then see if we can get a replay of that shortly after. But coming out of turn number 4, pit lane is open. The leaders potentially headed in, and they are.
You know, we'll see. Obviously, so we were going to talk about this. We didn't have a chance to talk about it. The fuel stint is 22 to 25 laps. That was the fuel window. Obviously, we're well within that window. Didn't even get to go. We didn't even go a full 10 laps. I would imagine that if anyone's taking tires, it's a 2-tire stop. We'll see what Dustin Hall takes here. A lot of drivers will probably mirror him here. 2 tires for Hall. No tires for Height.
Yeah, just a gas and go for the 11 and several others as they all come out of the pit lane. 4 tires for Hall. So that's going to make him incredibly quick once again, but he's going to be fighting Gaiman, who actually came in. I noticed how fast Gaiman came into the pit lane, is going to beat Hall out. He came in there like a rocket ship and blasts out of the pits before the number 3 car can. But the 3 of Hall starting in 6th with fresh tires, that's going to give him a huge advantage on this restart. I don't think it'll be long before he's back out front. So it's Shangle, Height, Giles, McDonald, I believe those who did not take tires. I think Shangle may have stayed out. And then it's Hall and Parkhurst, or Gaiman, Hall, and Parkhurst, the first one with tires. Then Boone, Borer, and Garrett to close out the top 10 at the moment. And they all took tires, at least 2 or 4 as well.
Hey,
So,
go ahead. I was going to take the time while we're under caution here, shouting at everyone that is helped make tonight possible. Shout out to the 3 new subs, obviously Aerotech subbing, and then gifting a sub to Ohei, and then Spirit of Indy with the subscription as well. Appreciate you all supporting the channel.
Quite a few bits cheered as well, I noticed out of the corner of my eye. So thank you very much for all the love.
Absolutely. Obviously, been a crazy couple days to start off the new year. We're happy you're spending your time with us here this evening. You're on ABN. HTL Cup Series action at Michigan to kick off 2023. We have action tomorrow night as well as in Wednesday night. Super Sprint and High Formula action those 2 days. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing, come back tomorrow and then in Wednesday for more action, a little bit more diversity. GT cars on Tuesday, F1 cars on Wednesday.
And real quick, Carmen, if we can have a look here at the replay, it looks like we got the 1 to green, yes, so they've doubled up and choose their lanes. This is just a quick look at why we're where we were. This is coming down the front straightaway. Watch that car in the middle, that camouflage car, George Jewell, moves down the racetrack, just misjudges it a bit, gets into the 72 of Caleb Collins, comes up the track, cleans out Jim Oot, and from this point, they're all passengers. And there you see was Rex going into the grass in the background. That's how he got spun around. And you actually saw race leader Jacob Shangle getting through that as well, and that's how Jewell got spun out as well. So pretty straightforward, just a misjudgment by those drivers, and that's how we got to our 3rd caution and 2nd true caution of the night. Height and Shangle leading them down.
Averaged 8 cautions in these races at 2-mile ovals. We're on number 3. Number 2 for incidents. The average was 8. So
nearing the 1/3 mark, we're tracking quite well for that one.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Shangle, Height, Giles, Gaiman. Then you got Hall and McDonald, top 6. Pace car off. Through the restart zone. Shangle with the wheel spin. You don't like that.
Yeah, you knew it was coming, and now they all bail on the number 50 machine. The Stepping Stone Motorsports rookie went for a gamble, got a lap led under caution, but is going to drop like a bit of a rock. It's going to be Height leading, but Height didn't take tires either, but did save a bit. I think had more of the strategy plan. Shangle is struggling in the number 50 machine, trying to stay out of the way. You see him now darting down the back straightaway, trying to keep out of everybody's way. Maybe something that this is going to pay off later for Shangle when he has an extra set of tires, but for now, really feeling the pain in the number 50, the Washington native, as they scramble 5 wide out of turn number 4 to try and navigate Jacob Shangle. And this is sketchy behind them, but up front, Gaiman on the fresh tires with Hall clearing Height, unsurprisingly, with that pit stop. And they are going to be 1-2. We're going to get to see that fight continue finally. This is McDonald, who is sliding back and into Parkhurst ever so slightly, scoots him up the hill. Gutekunst sideways on the bottom, just about hangs on to it. And Eli Sasek is that golden white car in the middle of all of that melee. They're going to try and sail it off into turn number 3.
This is that's Henderson in the wall.
Oh, Henderson brushes the wall. He's been riding up there. The one thing that's going to help him is he's been riding up there. That's not going to be huge damage, just a mistake there. But it is going to kill his momentum. 3 wide, 4 wide in front of him. 2 wide now with the number 5. This is fighting for the tail end of the top 10. And Henderson still looking a bit loose there. There's Giles in the number 6. Gaiman pulls a 3/10 lead over Hall. In the meantime, everybody has negotiated Jacob Shangle. He's fallen out of the pack, so that is safe. Henderson pushing very aggressively on the back bumper of the 6 machine, trying to help him a little bit to try and clear the number 19 of Scott Poznanski.
Yeah, so McBride just went by. This is Joseph saw the top 10. McBride in 14th place. That NVIDIA number 47. Right now, shouting Tyler Woodard.
Yeah, Caitlin Height, who did not take tires again, falling back a bit in the number 11, right behind Poznanski, trying to save as much Goodyear Eagle rubber as she can. She's getting passed by McBride. McBride and Woodard nearly make contact. McBride going to put a huge run around the outside lane. A little bit of issue here. I think Alistair Kirk might have smacked the wall on the 51 machine. So
not a great
little
return
bit
for
of
him.
No, a little bit of chirping about being a lapped car, a little lesson in being a lapped car, I think, being taught there, just not in the nicest way. That's a little bit of frustration starting to creep in the first third of this race as it is now in the books. Up front, though, Gaiman, Hall, and Boone, it's starting to calm down just a little bit. And look at Hayes moving up into fourth. Kind of been up, then back, now back up again. The 96 machine putting on a good show for that Arrowhead Motorsports team. And Garrett sitting around in fifth as well in the 55. He's found his way back up into a good position as well.
It seems like we got a little bit more stability here. So we're going to do something a little bit fun. We didn't do it until later, Daytona, but we're going to do it here. How about we crank it up? We are back here. Obviously had a little bit of crank it up. Love some loud noises. A lot of cars still running here at Michigan. For those that are just tuning in, I'm Carmen Hardy alongside me, Kristina Ryan. A very busy Monday evening, the first Monday of 2023. HTL Cup Series action from Michigan International Speedway. Josh Gaiman, you're looking at him. That's the poise of a race leader. He was a championship contender in the ARC's HTL Cup Series season in 2022, looking to expand his repertoire in 2023. He's going to be a very busy driver. And across Avian's platform, you'll see him pretty much almost every night of the week. You'll see him Wednesday nights in Hyper Formula. You'll see him obviously tonight here in HTL. You'll see him on Saturday and Sunday nights here very soon as well. A lot of fun having Josh Gaiman involved. Right now is leading Dustin Hall, and Dalton Hayes has made it up to the top 3 in the number 96 for Arrowhead Racing. It is a Ford, Chevy, and Toyota top 3. As we get ready to look here, that's the gap between the top 4. Matthew Boone, the defending series champion, right on the tail end of this group. As Dustin Hall goes for the race lead, he'll get it.
Yeah, really nice move there. Very textbook, nice little slide job almost before you even got to the corner. But you see, it opened the door for a late apex from Gaiman. He's going to come back and fight back. This is going to open the door for Hayes and Boone to try and go at it as well. You can see as they have broken away, this allows them to fight a little bit and not have to worry about losing time. This is exactly what they want to see. It's the best of both worlds for them. And Gaiman looks like he's going to clear this time, but it's going to give Hall the advantage. We might be seeing a lot of back and forth here, but Hayes is going to try and spoil the party. Side drafts that 3 just a little bit, but Hall gets clear, forces the 96 of Hayes to move down, and now him and Boone are going to have to fight for the last spot on the podium for just a moment.
Yeah, these 4 cars are broken away. Gudekunst sitting in 5th here. Obviously, a lot of drivers with a lot of positions gained. Dalton Hayes, John Gudekunst, Mark Parkhurst, John Garrett, tops really 4th through 7th. All of them have gained a minimum of 20 positions in this race. Scott Poznansky's gained 12. Bryce Bower's not had a fun time of it so far. He's down 4 positions in 9th place. Blake Henderson in this group as well, sitting in the 10th spot ahead of Eli Sasek, who... The Sasek was like a bolt of lightning early on and after the green flag, but as we approach the end of stage 2, currently sitting pointsless. You need to be top 10 to score points in the stage. Obviously, Sasek's not worried about that too awful much, but it doesn't hurt either as Gaiman gets back around Dustin Hall.
But not for long, because here comes Hall. He does a nice little crossover move to the bottom. Got a side draft, maybe just a bit. You see him scoot up just a teeny bit. Not enough to really get too much, but the white flag is out for the stage, so they are fighting for very valuable championship points. And Gaiman, who is not a chartered driver, driving like he is a championship contender. They nearly touch out of turn number 2, though, as Hall got tight again. This might open the door for Boone to try something, as Hayes is going to push Hall to number 3. This might just be all that Gaiman needs for the 61 and Stepping Stone Motorsports to get their first stage win. And there goes the 83 of Boone sideways. They're fighting oh so tightly out of turn number 4. That's exactly what Josh Gaiman needs to see. Number 61 will win stage 2, then it's Hall, then Boone, then Hayes, and Gudekunst just stole it from Matt Parkhurst at the last second for 5th. Poznansky, Borer, Garrett, and Henderson round out the top 10. How about that one? Caution free for what it was at, about 15, 13 laps of, and that was all 4 wide, all kinds of incredible dives and slide jobs and bump drafts and bump and runs at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
This is some really, really entertaining racing tonight.
As we kind of let everyone catch up to the pace car, it's been it's been an interesting night on track for us, but we're going to kind of confirm some things that are going on in the chat. It was announced on Instagram earlier this evening that Ken Block has passed away. That is confirmed. That is official. There's no, like, you'll see stuff on social media. It's been a wild couple days. Ken Block has passed away following a snowmobile accident earlier this afternoon. For some people, obviously people will remember Ken Block for Hoonigan. For people that kind of grew up in that era and remember the dirt racing games, Ken Block was an important part of a lot of our childhoods and a lot of our adolescent years growing up in one way or another. But we kind of wanted to kind of cover that before too much of it ended up in our live chat here. Ken Block has unfortunately passed away here.
Yeah, it's an absolute shame. He was a hero to many, and he's definitely one of the greatest to ever become an artist of motorsport. Of course, popular for his Gymkhana series, and one of those drivers that was not afraid to try anything if it had wheels on it. Of course, having a foray into rallying and all that, and the whole dirt situation, the whole franchise there, really sparking a lot of life into it. It's a absolute shame to lose him, of course, in doing what he loved, but living on that risky side of life that he loved to tempt oh so often. It's a shame, but of course, thoughts with him, his fans, his family, his friends. An absolute legend in motorsports. May not have been the fastest, but definitely one of the most creative, and inspired a lot of us with the art of sliding cars around at incredible high rates of speed. So, yeah, absolute shame that we've lost him, but definitely a hero that's going to be a legend. A name that we will never forget in the motorsports community.
I'm going to make sure we covered that off before it got too out of hand. Did a little bit of research digging in. Appreciations to Aerotech and Rudy Valentin for kind of sharing that information here. Obviously, Aerotech kind of sharing some information, help revitalize action sports, alternative car culture. Obviously, with both DCCs and obviously Hoonigan, we mentioned earlier. Yeah, he's an icon, and obviously it's gonna be sad not seeing some of the stuff that he's come up with going into this year, because I know that he still had a lot of stuff planned. So, as Chrissy said, our thoughts for his friends, his family, and all the fans that looked up to him for many years. Regrouping here, I think a lot of the drivers probably aren't aware of it. Not sure even how many drivers probably too awfully touched. They've got a race to focus on. We're about to go green to start stage 3. We thought business was heavy in the first half of this race. We're going green with 51 laps to go. It's about to get a little bit more hectic. Now all the big points are on offer.
Well, now hold on. Because I'm looking at my trends here, Carmen, what have they said? If the first half of a race is intense, the second half is calm. If the first half is calm, all hell breaks loose in the second half, and it has been nothing but insanity from the drop of the green flag tonight. I'm betting you it's going to get crazy on the restarts. It always is at this track. You'll never get away from that. But if we get these cars spread out, we might see some old-fashioned Michigan racing. Now, the trends have not been our friend this year, but we can't ignore them, even if we'd like to.
Yeah, obviously, the trends are there for a reason. There's a pattern. We're going to see how that pattern is. Once again, here's a trend. Dustin Hall, Josh Gaiman on the front row for this restart. Then it's Matt Boone and Dalton Hayes in row 2. Parkhurst, Gutekunst, row 3. Poznanski, Garrett, row 4. Pace cars off. Green flag back in the air. And we're back to racing. Stage 3 underway at Michigan.
Pretty tidy start all the way through the field. Nobody making any big moves. At least 20 or so cars deep. It's double file all the way back. Gaiman going to get that advantage on the outside lane for now, but you can see Hall running that qualifying line, really letting it hang out, trying to generate a run and get that draft on the 61. You can see them all swerving and wiggling around, trying to sort themselves out behind them.
Seeing right there, there's Gaiman ahead of Hall, ahead of Boone, ahead of Hayes. They're still where they started this stage. Parkhurst in 5th, Gutekunst 6th. They're where they started. But here we go.
Single file, at least 8 cars deep now, 10 cars deep.
Yeah.
They're all trying to get in line and get ready. The stage racing's over. They're getting set for the big show. They've got to try and extend that fuel as much as they can. If they could get a caution 5 laps into this run, it would be an easy one stop. But they know what's ahead of them here. They need to save fuel. They need to save tires. They need to extend this stint as long as they can. Michigan is infamous or famous, depending on how much you like them, for fuel mileage races. We're looking at looking down the barrel of one right now.
Yeah, right now you obviously John Garrett down in 12th. He was the only car that was really stepping out from that line. He was trying to get up to the top lane. We saw him do it behind Zachary Meredith. Meredith, a good recovery drive for the 39. We saw him got spun around early, caused the first caution of this race, coming across the nose of Matthew Boone. But we're good recovery so far, up to 11th as we see Meredith trying to make something happen. Trying to get around Bower, and I believe that's Wes Fuller he's trying to get around as well. He will.
Yeah, it's so interesting. They were all single file for a while there. It was to the point that even Dustin Hall did not attempt to pass Joshua Gaiman, tucked up right behind him, pushed him for a bit. And now they kind of, I don't know if they checked up or everybody just got a run they couldn't refuse, because it seemed like all at once, everybody moved down to try and start making passes for position again. And now we see a little bit of 3 wide here. 3 wide just ahead of him. That now fans out to 2 wide. So that's the only 3 wide we see in the pack, and it seems to dissolve back to 2. So looking a bit calmer so far. These moves a bit aggressive there. As you see, that's Poznanski in the red and white going after Hayes and Henderson. Got Henderson 3 wide now, nearly contact with Hayes though. Henderson fighting back on the top and will successfully pass them both if he doesn't get hooked, because Poznanski and Hayes get door to door and slam down the front straightaway.
Yeah, very tight quarters racing so far. Not comfortable for either Poznanski or Hayes. Henderson making out like a bandit though, holding on to that top lane. That's where he wanted to be, and he's moving up spots.
Yeah, he's really working that top lane. It's rolling really well for him. The only problem is the higher up the track we go. We talked about this at the top of the show, Carmen. The higher you go up there, the more you're going to kill that tire. It is so abrasive on these Goodyear Eagles on that top right, and we already saw people struggling very early in the run with tire wear. And it's working now, but he's got to be thinking long term, unless he's committing to a 2-stop strategy and just going and giving it the beans.
Yeah, I feel like it's a safe 2-stop for about most of the field. If you're saving fuel now, you may have a chance. I think everyone's pretty well banking on 2 stops though. I
think they all tried, because they all lined up for a minute, and now they're all back to fighting the hell out of each other. So we'll see what happens here. We got Trouble Meredith sideways, and that's Height, who got into the back of I believe that is Fuller. That was Fuller in the 5. I think Meredith might not have been a part of that. I'm not sure. They've done a great job hanging on to that and not making that worse than it needed to be. No, they didn't need to be, because nobody went around.
I thought someone had just turned dead left and was heading straight towards the wall with how quickly that happened.
Was Fuller. I'm not sure if Fuller got contact from Height or was loose and Height finished him off. I think Height just slid up a little too much and got into Fuller. Again, we've seen time and time again brilliant car control. Trying to get a replay loaded up here if we wanted to go split screen in a moment's time. But yeah, it was a hell of a ride for those two. They did a great job hanging on to it though. And George Jewell in the pit lane.
So here's what it looks like here. That was as you mentioned, George Jewell in the pit lane. But then on the right side of your screen,
I wasn't entirely crazy. I saw Meredith in there, but he wasn't the one who got turned. You're going to see Height move up the racetrack, and look at the left side of the screen. Right there is the number 5 of Fuller. And as the camera pans around, they just make contact. Probably not the best angle in the world to see that, but look at this save by Fuller.
Yeah, I'm surprised on that one. That was amazing.
Incredible by Wes Fuller to hang on to that thing. We'll try and get another angle here and look at it full time, real speed, to show you how violent this one really was. Because I'm like you, Carmen. I thought for sure that was caution flag out, race over for Wes Fuller. Look at this one here. And Height just gets tight on the bottom. That's all it is to it. I think maybe thought she was going to clear up. Pretty heavy contact for both of them, but they do a nice job of hanging on to that one. And Wes Fuller, candidate for the All-State Good Hands Driver award there. Keeps it going, doesn't even miss a beat. Great job by the number 5 car to hang on to it.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic job. And obviously, for Fuller, it's even better. There's even more trouble. That is Meredith.
That is Meredith this time. He couldn't hang on another time around, and he's saved it for the second time tonight, though.
Yeah.
Oh, and now he loops it around just a bit, but keeps it off the wall yet again. I wonder who got involved with him in that one. And I think, it was the one car. He came down across the nose because I think there was a checkup in front. I think he was trying to stay out of the back of the 55 of Garrett, and I think they all stacked up, Carmen.
Yeah, I would not be surprised that's the case. We'll look at it here in just a second.
Oh.
That was... At that point, tires were beginning to go away at different parts for people.
Oh, so this... I know we'll take a look at it in a second, but I do want to say I want to clear everybody's name of this. This all started with some very light contact between Poznanski and Mark Parkhurst.
We'll look at it right here.
Yeah, here it is. You're going to watch those two up on the top left, just beside the ticker. The 19 tags Parkhurst. Parkhurst is going to hit that outside retaining wall. The 55 gets hard on the brakes.
Really good job avoiding it, but...
Yeah, it's too fast. They can't stack up that quickly. We'll play it again in real speed here and really show you what happens, but it happens so fast, and Bora does a great job to hang on to it, man. I'm telling you what, these drivers have been doing a phenomenal job avoiding making these crashes a lot worse than they could have been. So, yeah, here it is here. Just look at how fast this all unfolds. They're minding their business. They're having a good battle. There's contact, and before they can even figure out what's going on, you got cars sliding around and spinning out. It's just no time to react. They did what they could, and they did a fantastic job to not make that worse than it needed to be, but it's just almost the opposite end of the cars, but it's the exact same thing we saw with Height and Fuller. The car on the inside just slid up and made contact, and it was on from there.
Absolutely wild stuff. Obviously, pit lane action going on here. A lot of cars moving. Gaiman takes the lead over Hall, Boone, Henderson with some big gains here.
Yeah, really interesting strategy card by Henderson, although not very much strategy. It's because he gambled to push hard on that actual restart. We saw how he was flying on the top. Everybody comes in. Most of them take tires. Most of them take fuel. He gets a fresh set. It worked out for him. Now, had it stayed green, he would have been hurting a lot, but it didn't, and that helps him out. It throws him right into the thick of this race. Other drivers that helped out, Wes Fuller, who had that slide down the back stretch after the contact with Caitlin Height. It also is going to help Caitlin Height out a bit. And again, we mentioned, obviously, the caution coming out for Meredith. He's still in the pit lane getting repairs done. We just praised how well he had done to get back into the thick of things. And just as soon as that happens, he and Bryce Bora go for a wild ride, but they're both still in with a shot. Meredith still repairing some damage, may lose a lap here. Actually, no, I think just trying to get the most that he can out of it. He's just left the box in the number 39 machine and will beat the pace car off. So Meredith still on the lead lap as well. Him and Bryce Bora are going to be the last two on the lead lap, along with Gary Donaldson in the number 22 machine.
It's been a wild night so far. This does make it an easy one-stop race.
Absolutely. So it's all race from now on, but what that does mean is we're very likely to have a lot of cautions because they're going to be racing really hard.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be racing hard, but we'll see how it goes here.
Yeah, they have done a great job tonight, it must be said, and we still have so many cars on the lead lap. Everybody still racing except for Jim Oot, the only retirement from this event. So, and actually everybody on the lead lap now. Zachary Meredith on the lead lap still. So Jim Oot, who retired at the end of lap 25 with that caution, he is out, but Zachary Meredith, Matt Smith, Shangle, they've all had their issues, but every car still in it and on the lead lap, which is
insane, to say the least.
Yeah, kind of insane. Of course, it says that they are out of the race at the bottom of that ticker, but that is an iRacing error. They are still circulating around the circuit, and we're about to go green. Get things rolling once again here in the foothills of Michigan.
Here in the Irish Hills, Josh Gaiman, Matt Boone will lead us to green, and Dustin Hall and Blake Henderson Now we've got a little bit of a mix-up at the front of the field. Pace car is off. Green flag back in the air. Once again, we're live. And we're racing in Michigan. Less than 40 laps to go.
Yeah, great start by Gaiman. We've been seeing that with the Geico restart zone era of iRacing restarts. That leader can get such a good jump in that zone, and you can see Henderson trying to fight there with Gutekunst to get around the outside, just hanging on that left rear quarter panel. Is going to pull that red and white car back, so they're going to fight there for about fourth position. That's going to allow a little bit of a breakaway from the top three, but here comes Henderson. Gutekunst struggling just a little bit right now.
Yeah. One thing I noticed there on that restart, Dustin Hall, for the first time tonight, had a phenomenal restart. He was behind Gaiman on that restart. He wasn't beside him. He was behind him. That was a big difference, and it allowed Hall to get right back up to second place. It was able to really kind of give a goose egg to Matthew Boone. Boone's trying to rally around him on the outside lane, and that's going to allow Josh Gaiman to break away a little bit because it took the air off of Hall there.
Yeah, well, all four of them had broke away for just a moment, but now they battle just a little bit. It leads them back. Oh, a little bit of contact there between Hayes and Gutekunst. They do a nice job to hang on to it. Yeah, there is a little bit of history between these two, but they're racing real hard, and just behind them is Poznansky, Garrett Height, and McBride, who all have had their own stories of up and down roller coaster tonight.
Absolutely.
Oh, they're going to touch again!
Yeah. No love lost between Gutekunst and Dalton Hayes. But Hayes holding on to that fifth spot at the moment.
Oh, big move there. Was that George Jewell that just took a big dive to the inside three wide?
Yeah,
I think it was fighting with Tyler Rex. So both those guys were pointing backwards in the infield at one point tonight. They're still fighting in the midfield and having a good run tonight.
Doing a phenomenal job. Still side by side. A little further back. It's Garrett and Poznansky. And then they fan out. McBride trying to fight with Cody Giles.
Yeah, this is impressive stuff. They're three wide in the back with Eli Sasic, McDonald, and Failer as well, a little further back. Also, the George Jewell making some good progress getting around Rex, now falling back a bit now as he's had a poor 1 and 2, but they're fighting for the upper periphery of the mid-teens, so very easily could turn that into a top 10 on a restart as well. We've been seeing a lot of drivers so good on those opening 6 or 7 laps, can make up a lot of positions, and one of them is Henderson, and oh, by the way, he's up to second fighting with Boone still, and they're closing on Gaiman pretty darn fast.
Well, there's the duality of drivers here. There's the drivers that are really good on the initial launch, and then there's the drivers that reel everything back in. If you can save tires and not lose, you're in a really good spot. George Jewell's down 2 spots. They're down to 16th. But if you can save a little bit of tire, he's been on the inside lane most of the time so far. That could help you out longer this goes. If we get a green flag pit stop, he could be sitting pretty well off.
Yeah, and that is the thing, though. You kind of need to place your bets. You need to kind of read the field. Is it going to go green? Is it worth saving the tires, or do you push now? Make the most of that track position, because if you save your tires and then the caution comes out, it doesn't matter. You just lost all those positions, and you're going to have to race your way back up through. You got to hit that balance. You got to figure out how to save as much tire as you can and go as fast as you can. As a crew chief, that's not too much to ask. As a driver, good luck.
Henderson to the front.
Couple cars bounced off the wall out of turn 2 that time, similar to how we saw that crash develop earlier tonight. They all keep it straight and narrow, but you could hear it actually audibly as they came by on that TV cam, and then you saw them all scatter down the backstretch, a couple of them bouncing off the wall. So tire already starting to be a bit of an issue, and you know what hurts your tire wear more than anything else, Carmen? Knocking the whole right front fender off the car.
Yeah, that doesn't help. Matthew Boone trying to battle with Henderson for the race lead here. Boone won the closest finish in HTL history, trying to win another one here on a 2-mile track. Henderson lost out by 18 milliseconds here at this track last season, trying to redeem that. This is one of those that he felt got away from him last year. Right now, he's doing really good.
And it's been a good year for that for Henderson. Anytime he feels like a track's owed him one, he ended up having a decent showing. Of course, he won his duel after never having been able to clinch anything at Daytona, it had seemed. leading out front here. He likes this track a good bit, although he was really, as Gaiman now tries to fight and go to the lead, he felt a little nervous coming into this one. He was giving me feedback. He felt the car was so tight. He couldn't quite figure out how to find the speed in it. He was trying to figure out what the tip was, what was the cheese to get this thing wound up and running. And you can see, it looked like he pushed just a little bit out of turn number 2, but is going to have enough draft to at least stay even with the 3 of Hall. So he is here and in the top 3 despite his apprehension. And where have we heard that before? A driver who wasn't so sure they'd do well ending up in the podium places with only a handful of laps to go. It seems that rewards those who struggle.
One thing I will kind of heed caution on, Henderson spent most of his time up in that upper lane. As you mentioned earlier, that doesn't do well on the tires. Obviously, he's going to get a run here. But you want to stay lower on the track, and he's spent a couple laps there up in the gray, and that's not where you want to be. That could bite him here in a few laps.
The one thing he has going for him, though, he's got the clean air right now, and that will help the car more than any line you can run. But I just want to point out, we've got like a 10-car fight for the lead right now. Yeah. And it's not a plate race. And look at it's going to be too much. Gaiman gets turned. He saved it. After contact, unbelievable bit of driving.
For the lead.
Yeah, he never lifted. Neither of these guys lifted. They're still put to the floor. 3 wide now. Here's Height, who moves back into position. She's up to third. She saved some tires.
That's who I was about to point out, because both Height and Hayes. Hall gets turned.
They were so tight. Caution's out now, and now a hard hit for the 3 of Hall. He gets turned, and they all scatter down the backstretch, and caution comes out again. Carmen, you could feel that one precipitating. They were all over each other through turns 3, or into 1 and 2. They were 3 wide, an inch apart on all 3 lanes. It was never gonna work.
No, it wasn't. It was gonna be... It was an inevitability, unfortunately. We saw, how racy it was getting. The top 10, it was almost like a rubber band effect. And obviously when you have the rubber band collapsed at some point. And obviously it collapsed there. Obviously we'll have to take a look and see what caused that spin, because we saw Dustin Hall get turned. He was on the inside lane. I don't know if he drifted up or if he got drifted down into. We'll see that in a second.
It looks like Hall twitched. I'm not sure if he thought he was clear and tried to move up, or perhaps got loose on the right rear, but there's a twitch you're going to see from the number 3 once we do get a good enough angle to show the replay. You'll see the number 3 of Dustin Hall, not Dustin Hall, excuse me.
Okay, this is a different accident. Give me a second.
Yeah, so no, it was the 3. It was the 3 of Dustin Hall, forgive me. He was on the bottom of the track, and he starts to slide up, so I wonder here... which one we're looking at here. Here it is. So this is where he gets turned. You're gonna watch him come out of turn 2. Now look at how if we can go back now and look at those 3. Look at how tight they are. That's Hayes on the top. That's Gutekunst in the middle, and Hall on the bottom. Now watch this. This all starts with Gutekunst making contact with Gaiman. Watch that red and white car in the middle there, 3 wide. Gonna see if we can pull up our ABN tracker here.
Yeah, this is where it all starts.
Watch those 2. Yeah. Now this is just a product of hard racing, right? You could say this guy did this or this guy did that. They're racing as hard as they can. Gaiman comes up. That's on him. They save it. Momentum is broken by Gutekunst, though. Unbelievably, Gaiman still has the momentum. Everybody behind him checked up. Now they're 3 wide. Hayes, so tight. They actually make contact with Gutekunst, and now Gutekunst is trying to give extra room to Hayes. Hayes is pinching so hard. They touch again. Hall moves up because he's on that lesser banking out of turn number 2, and I think because of this contact, it gets that 3 car upset. And look, he still has the left sides on the seam there. If we let this one play maybe in slow motion here, we'll see the precipitation, the kind of the cause. This was the cause. Here's the effect. The 53 bounces off of Hayes again, and then the 3, don't think he's loose. I'm not sure if he had an issue or something, but he moves up the track a bit. And then they come together, and that's where everything pops off. And look at Poznanski in the 19. Holy moly. Misses one, can't miss two. A valiant effort, though. You see Boone and the 7 machine get together as well. That was Ricky Gonzalez. And then they scatter behind. You see Failer going down there. I think that was Henderson as well. I think the 7 kept it off the wall. Gonzalez.
Correct,
Everybody
yeah.
misses that spinning number 3. There's Thad Failer we're focused on now. Rex avoids it on the apron. All kinds of insanity unfolding here, and it all just because of a little bit of contact. This was something that happened out of turn number 4, Carmen. A little bit of contact out of turn number 4 causes a 3-car crash in turn number 2. And that's how much this stuff matters. Yeah. Half a lap later. That was a wreck. They were wrecking for half a lap. Nobody got turned until the exit of 2.
Looking back at live pictures, 1 to green. Eli Sasek stayed out. Everyone still has a pit stop from this point in the race. It's just, it's going to be a really close pit stop. Sasek's like, yeah, I'm not going to make it so close.
Well, I don't know, Carmen, because consider, if we get a couple rapid cautions back to back to back, if we get a restart wreck, we run a lap, have another caution, something like that, it is a bit rare with how this quality of the field has been tonight, but it's not impossible, especially as intensity continues to rise. We've just delayed the green as well because the 1 car of Bryce Borer has stopped on the back straightaway. I'm not sure if he's had an engine issue or not, but this will actually extend the yellow, which once again adds to what I was just saying. If we get a caution, if we get this delayed green, if we get a restart wreck right after this, you could make it, saving fuel under caution. Now my question is, does anybody pit now? There's a lot of confusion because we had the delayed green, but the pace cars pulled off, Carmen. It looks like we are going to go ahead and wave off that extended yellow. They might be going green anyway.
Yeah, we're seeing green lights. Green flag in the air. Sask's going to run with it.
Yeah, the word from iRacing is that the green flag was not going to come out. We had the hang on, we're not going green call on the track, but the pace car lights were out anyways and pulled off. So maybe something happening there. And oh my goodness, what a move by Blake Henderson. He shoots through the field and takes the lead, and they're wrecking in the back. Contact with George Jewell. Another car around on the inside. They save it, but I believe that might have been Caleb Collins. Around goes Gaiman. He gets turned in front of the field. Hard impact to the outside wall, and more cars are now involved. They all try to slow down. Boone has nowhere to go, and they're wrecking in turn 3 and 4, and that is just what we talked about, Carmen. And that is the 61, one of the dominant cars of the day, destroyed in turn number 4.
Dean Clavitt was involved. A lot of cars involved here.
There's just nowhere to go in that situation. There's only so much you can do. I feel like all of this also was precipitated by the fact that we had that awkward restart. People weren't prepared to go green. We thought we weren't going to go green, then we were. Now, I don't think that had anything to do with admin call. I think iRacing just had a mistake. And the precipitation from that is that all kinds of calamity. We were busy looking at cars spinning in the background and then jump cut back and see the 61 car sideways. So a lot to unpack here about this restart.
Yeah. We even had technical issues that kind of throw it in.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. Obviously, we're kind of going to throw things over here. We'll see what Kristina sees here.
Yeah, so this is where it all started. There were 2 separate wrecks. So here's the first one. This is way back with George Jewell. There you see McDonald. There's Meredith. Caleb scoots up the track at the same time that George was trying to move down. So that was the contact there. This was in the mid-pack. They saved it. They did an excellent job. Now this is what happens up front with the leaders. You see Henderson side drafting so hard on Gaiman, turns him in front of the field, nowhere for Boone to go. They slam. McBride gets into it. There goes Santiago into it as well. And then there goes the 1 involved. It's an absolute melee, and the 2 car actually was scored as involved by SDK, but actually wasn't. You see Clavitt there coming to a complete stop to avoid the crash. So actually a good bit of wreck avoidance there. We'll try and rewind this one more time and show you another angle, or maybe a couple more times, because I think we're going to be under green or under caution for a moment. Look here.
Yeah.
Gaiman side drafts Henderson. Henderson's going to try to side draft back, and he just misjudged it. That's not net code, that's just misjudgment, and unfortunately that happens sometimes, and that's a hard impact. And he gets hit again and again and again. McBride nowhere to go, nowhere for the 55 of John Garrett to go. He got a piece of it obviously as well. You saw him plow in there. There's nowhere for these guys to go, and a lot of them luckily get light contact, as with the one, and Santiago got a pretty decent hit, but you can't see this. On board with Santiago here as they come down the back straightaway. He saw that first wreck happen in front of him, thought, okay, maybe we're good and we're clear. Now watch what happens as they come off into turn number 3 on board with the helmet cam here. There's the smoke. You can't even see where they're going. And as soon as they come up the racetrack, they come back down. He had it missed. He missed the wreck, but because they were crashed on the high side, it launched John Garrett back down into Santiago, and he takes a hard lick to the right-hand side. And there's just nothing you can do in that situation, because as we see here, Santiago did everything right, but just nothing, nowhere for him to go. Just have one more angle of it here. We're going to try and get Gaiman from the, you can see him, he's struggling to get it back, and I think he actually ended up having to tow that machine. Gonna rewind it one more time here. I want to show from the gearbox here, you'll see where Henderson gets up on the back bumper. Now, Henderson didn't mean to dump him. Now, Henderson dumped him, but he didn't mean to. It was just side draft. He was trying to side draft him as hard as he could. Now, this is on board with the nose of Gaiman. You're going to see, have a little bit of blinking here, but you're going to see Gaiman goes inside of Sasek, gets a side draft off Sasek, pulls his back at 25, a massive amount. And now as they come down the back straightaway, you see Caitlin Height, the 25 tries to move up. Just misjudged it, and now listen to this. Oof. That's a hard lick, and now obviously the suspension components are busted. Nowhere for Boone to go there. You see Boone clobber the one car. That's just unfortunately what happens when you side draft a little too hard and misjudge it by an inch, just by an inch. If they were 1 inch to the left, if Henderson was 1 inch to the left, they wouldn't have wrecked.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can throw that trend out the window about things getting calm in the second half. The trend has not been old Larry Mack's friend tonight, but the restarts and cautions breed cautions never fails to be true. Henderson and Giles going to lead us down, Carmen.
Yeah, it's Henderson, Giles, Parkhurst, Gibney with the green flag back in the air. 22 laps to go.
And if you're Blake Henderson, you've got to put that in the back of your head. You know you didn't mean to do it. It wasn't intentional. It was a mistake on your part, and you're just going to have to live with that. You're still at an opportunity to lead and win the race. So, you know, and Gaiman's one of the nicest guys in the field. I'm sure he's mad right now. I'm sure he doesn't even want to talk to Blake Henderson right now, but he's somebody who can understand, and it could just as easily been him in that position too. So if you're Henderson, you just got to put your head down and drive away. It's the only thing that can make yourself feel better if you wipe somebody out in a race.
Right now, Henderson trying to hold off Giles.
Caution out again. Sorry, around. I think it's Clavitt through the infield. I think there might be more to this, but Dean Clavitt flying over the victory lane and into turn number 1, and there's another car in it as well.
Help. There's
several cars. Shangle and Hall, I think. Not Hall, rather. There was one car in the back. It was Wes Fuller. So have a look and see. I don't think your end's going to pick that one up because it was quite a ways back. Oh, it was Peltier Sharp was involved in that as well. So she's been doing great all day long. Has been staying out of trouble. I'm not sure.
I think we're going to see part of this.
Yeah, I think trouble found her. Here's Wes Fuller. It's going to happen in front.
Oh,
Peltier Sharp was the first one around. Now, did she get turned, or was she? Oh, they were 4 wide, I believe. That's McDonald.
Well. So
let's see here. 4 wide.
Yeah, Peltier Sharp on the outside, McDonald 38, Caleb Collins, his teammate on the 72 on the next to bottom, and that's Gary Donaldson, the Stanley Tools, number 22, on the very bottom lane, close to the yellow line.
Let's let this one roll here and see.
Oh, she gets loose.
Well, that was about 3 or 4 things that happened there. You're gonna see. I got a pretty good idea of the chopper cam here if we want to cut to this one. You're going to see, there's the 4 on track. Yeah. So when this rolls, you're going to be watching that UPS car, but also you're going to want to watch that John Deere car in the second lane on the left, because the 90, or excuse me, not the 97, it's the John Deere car, has me thinking that, but he's going to slide up the hill at the same time that Pelletier Sharp moves down the hill, and what effectively happens is they're going to sandwich McDonald. So watch that purple car more than anything else. Watch cars on either side of that purple car. All 3 of them circled there on your screen. Watch this. 72 moves up, 23 comes down, they hook each other, boom, around they go. And that's a hard hit for Jewel, and everybody comes piling in. If you wanted to see what happened here, if you want to cut to me, I have the rest of what occurs. You can see them all sliding through the grass. So here's another angle of it. There's the contact, hard lick for McDonald. Pelletier Sharp's going to say, you know, here's where Jewel gets in. This is a hard hit. You see Clavitt, an incredible avoidance job. He goes flying through the infield. It's George Jewell now who has had an up and down day sliding in the middle of the field. Look at the move by Jason Shangle, Jacob Shangle, to get around that. Fuller through the grass. Boone not really anywhere to go. Jacob Shangle sliding. I don't know how Alfred Denny got around. Does Shangle hold on to this?
I mean, it kind of does.
Oh, he does. Oh my goodness. Get Jacob Shangle a raise. The Stepping Stone Motorsports rookie has not been very loud about his time in this series. He's quietly been around. Look at this move. Absolutely insane avoidance, and he just about gets behind on his steering. It slides down in the grass. He gets back in the grass, avoids Wes Fuller, who's having his own moment, gets it back together, and that number 50 car hangs on to it. Brilliant, brilliant driving by a man on a mission determined to bring that car home in one piece. One more look at it there. Here it is, right in front of him. He tries to pick a lane. None of the lanes are open. Oh! That is incredible.
That is Need for Speed Unbound levels of avoiding the police.
Oh my goodness, you're absolutely right. Really quick, gonna try and see what happened to Alfred Denny and then come back to live pictures. I'm not sure if we're one to go yet.
We are one to go.
So yeah, so Alfred Denny here, I think. Spinning in sympathy, tried to avoid Pelletier Sharp, clipped the grass, and wiped himself out. And you saw there, great avoidance by Joshua Gaiman right at the tail end of that as well. So I gotta say, a lot of things were happening. Pelletier Sharp's gonna say they came up, but whether she got loose or just moved down, I think that's a combination between being on Pelletier Sharp and being on
Sorry to Caleb Collins.
Yeah,
and unfortunately McDonald just had nowhere to go because he's looking to his left, because that's just how it unloads. He's looking to his left. He sees his teammate there.
The unfortunate thing for both of them is that neither of those drivers in their respective series, obviously here in HTL for Caleb Collins and in some other areas, they're no strangers to controversy, and to extent neither is McDonald. So all 3 of them kind of colliding with each other. But we're back under green here. Henderson going to have another go at it over Giles and Parkhurst. Gibney Jr. back in the mix. Woodard, Height, Bohr, Hayes, Failer, and Withers in the top 10 right now. There's a couple drivers we haven't seen yet today.
Yeah, Withers filling in for
trouble! Hard to the wall, the 29 around. That's going to be a several more cars involved. The yellow flag is out once again. And now we're into making it on caution range, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we are.
We can make it on fuel from here. It looked like already, I think it was the 77, tagged the wall ever so slightly, but that had nothing to do with that. Moutre took a hard lick down the back stretch, and it started with Swatsworth, I believe, and the 29 car having a coming together. It's just restarts are crazy and cautions breed cautions. And the 29 car bounced off the wall, and Swatsworth got into him and finished him off is effectively what happened there. And everybody kind of trying to avoid Santiago getting into the back. Moutre involved. Again, Meredith cannot catch a break tonight, unfortunately. But that all precipitated when the 29 smacked the wall of Matt Smith, and they all tried to avoid. Some were successful, some not so much. We'll have a look at that in just a moment. But goodness.
A lot going on here as We sit now on our 9th caution, 7th for an accident. The trend was 8. So that was the average.
I think we might be slightly above it here with the way that things have gone. And I'll say this, the 29 didn't just get tied either. Zach McBride was involved, and it actually wasn't. I'll take this back. I had not looked far enough back. Matt Smith is not responsible for this. It was Zach McBride sliding up ever so slightly, getting tight, getting into the 29. The 29 hit the wall. Nowhere for Swatsworth to go. Nowhere for Moutre.
And they all... Moutre.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge, huge lick. And again, just there's nowhere for any of these guys to go, because here's where it all starts. It starts right here in the front, and it just works its way back. The 47 comes up in the dirty air of the 41, contact to the 29. 29 hits the wall. Here comes the 4 car. There's just nothing that these guys can do. They're all passengers. And here's where Swatsworth goes right in front of the 72, by the way, of Caleb Collins, who was just involved. Santiago is going to get into the back of the 29 now, effectively pushes the 29 even further into Moutre, who already took a hard hit. There's Meredith. I believe the 22 misses this. So that'll be a fun angle to look at as well. Never mind. Gets into the back of the 44 as Moutre was trying to save it. Eli Sassick gets through, another miss for the number 50 of Shangle. And as Moutre comes back, Wes Fuller tried to pick a lane and picked the wrong one. I could see why he went to the left, thinking the 44 was coming back up, but picked the wrong lane. It actually straightens him out, but does a fair bit of damage to the 5. Donald gets through. The 55 of Garrett gets through. There's Gutekunst in the background. He's slowed down in time. Poznanski, I think, gets through as well. Yeah, Gaiman misses another one. This is why you don't want to be in the back either. Gaiman, who is up front, gets spun once. He's back in 23rd because 1, he can't find any time of green flag to move back through the field, and 2, he has to keep missing all these wrecks. So that's going to hurt him very, very much. And he's running out of time to get back up front because of all these shenanigans, all these restart crashes. 15 laps and we're done, Carmen. So we're starting to see the players here at the end, and Gaiman with a fixed car should have been in that group tonight, but it doesn't look like he's going to be there tonight. Unless we get about a 10-lap green flag run and he can come storming through the field, but it's just going to be hard to do that with only 15 on the table, and it's looking like we might see even more cautions before this thing is over.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he's in the position. He's almost in a position now where he's hoping for more accidents at the front so he can start picking up more spots.
And just a quick clarification, someone in the chat asking how many laps down is Gaiman. He's no laps down. He is on the lead lap. Everybody down to Matt Smith in the 29 car who just crashed is on the lead lap. They're still in this race. They still have a shot to win it. He used his quick repair and got back out there. So he got very lucky. He's back on the lead lap. But yeah, that's what we're working with at the moment. So 29 cars, I believe, are on the lead lap. Maybe a few more. So still a lot of cars in it. We've only lost Jim Oot, Alistair Kirk, and George Jewell now, and Jewell may still just be in the pit lane. Rex is several laps down. Everybody else on the lead lap. Pace car off, Carmen. We're about to try it again.
Yeah, it's Henderson, Giles, Parkhurst, Height, Woodard, Gibney, top 6. Pace cars in. Henderson leading us to the restart zone. He leads us to green flag. We're underway once again.
Can they keep it clean this time? Back up through the gears. Yep, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. There's just a saying that if you know enough to know the question, you probably already know the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, but Henderson's got a really good run so far.
Yeah, he has, and they're starting to fight a little bit for third now behind, but it is going to be Giles who breaks free and gets a really nice draft. He almost got too good of a start, Henderson did, and it allowed Giles to get a good run up. Single file, 5 cars deep. It's a double file all the way back until it's triple wide at the very tail end. They're racing real hard for last right now, as some of the drivers who had misfortunes but still have fast race cars tried to make their way back up around the slower cars. 13 laps to go, time's running out, urgency is increasing. Of course, we have unlimited green-white checkers, but, well, you know, we don't want to use them.
You don't want to use them. Gibney fighting with Dalton Hayes for the top 5.
Can't quite get it done. Is going to lose that position out to Hayes. Yeah, that's the risk you run by making those moves on the bottom. You want the bottom if you're in clean air, but if you're fighting, you almost want to be on the top because you just get stuck down there, and they're going to pinch you on that lower banking, and that's what... Oh,
Gibney tried clearing, not thinking that Woodard was there yet, but Woodard 100% had the overlay.
No, he knew Woodard was there. He was trying to get up there before the hole had closed. He was trying to squeak in there. He knew... You know why I know he knew Woodard was there was because as soon as he felt that contact, he pulled out of it, and that's why we didn't have a big pile up down the front stretch. He just tried to fit into a hole. This is where they're going to start trying to get these cars to fit into 3/4 length gaps. It's just not going to work. Good presence of mind, though, to realize what was going on and get out of that before he got himself hooked.
Yeah, he's losing a little more spots here. There's Bryce Blower, who's had his fair share of drama this race, but he's back in the top 10.
Has. Boy, has he ever. He is the man who will not quit. It's Giles, Henderson, Parkhurst, Height, Hayes, Woodard, Gibney, Borer, Failer, Gonzalez. They're all single file right now. We're riding on board right behind Thad, Failer. It's Tommy Withers in the Tombstone Motorsports number 41 machine. A couple cars slap the wall down the backstretch. The only ones... Oh, we got trouble. A couple cars touched down the back. McDonald is one of them, and I think the other one was the 3 of Dustin Hall. They keep it straight and pointed in the right direction. Neither of them spin. They just lose some momentum, same as what we saw a little bit earlier. McDonald and Hall getting together. Hall comes off a little better. McDonald gets the worst of it.
Kyle still leads, and he's using all the racetrack from the wall to the apron.
And here comes Parkhurst.
Yeah.
Parkhurst trying to fight with Henderson. We know Henderson. Look at how Henderson bombs it off into turn 1. He drives it into T1 and 2 harder than anybody else in the field, but now watch how he gets 8 up out of the corner. He comes up high. Here comes a good run from Henderson. They all scrape the wall down the back straightaway. Henderson gonna have to defend on Parkhurst. Gets a little bit of an arrow push from Caitlin Height. Looks to the inside. Blocked by Henderson. Good defense there. Here comes Hayes in the background as well. The top 5 all caught back up to Giles, who cannot run away despite the efforts of Henderson sending it in there. Can't quite get alongside either.
Open wheel defense right now by Giles, swerving and trying to break the draft as much as he can. But how much?
Oh, did he get into him? Has he just got into the back of him? Did Henderson just try to give him the boot scoot boogie? It was close. If he didn't, he is all over the rear diffuser of that number 6 car, and he's all over the wall. He hit the wall a little bit out of turn number 2. Not hard enough to hurt the car. Yeah, Failer did too. And now Parkhurst is going to take this opportunity to try and finally get around Henderson. But guess what, Hardy? Henderson is on the top lane. He's going to get that run, Carmen, but it's just not going to quite work because the 32 of Parkhurst is going to try to clear. And now Caitlin Height starting to run out of patience. She wants to move up as well.
And so
8 to go at the line.
Teammates are Arrowhead Racing. 2 wins in the preseason. Looking to get 1 in the main Cup Series. Top 5, it's Giles, Parkhurst, Height, Henderson, Hayes. But really pick your favorite because they are wheel to wheel.
Yeah, they're side by side. Parkhurst finally got clear of Henderson. Now goes for the lead, but Katie Height is looming as well, and Hayes has been sitting in the wings this whole race. Katie Height trying to force it 3 wide. Help from a teammate coming out of turn 4, perhaps, unless there's a little bit of mutiny. You're getting to the end of the race. Do you help your teammate in this situation, or do you go for the gold yourself?
Oh, you 100% help. A 1-2 is better than a 5th and an 18th at this point. Hayes backed off a little bit. There's a little bit of space there. It's forcing Giles to stay up in the top lane. We had enough green flag laps coming out of the caution that tires will become an issue.
Yeah.
And the more you squeeze drivers, especially out beyond the rubber into the gray, the more that's going to have an effect. Giles did the over-under, though. Trying to get back around Hayes for 3rd. Henderson in 5th.
They're going to touch, though. They're going to touch. Hayes has had people leaning over him all night long. How long is he going to take that? He's not just going to sit there and be a doormat for much longer. Henderson helps, but now he helps. He changes his mind. Now he's going to fight for himself. 3 wide for 3rd, and now in the middle, stuck in the middle, is Giles with no help from anybody. Here comes Swatsworth, who was pointing at the wall about 10 laps ago. He's coming back into the top 5, and oh, by the way, Woodard is still sitting around like a fly that just won't leave your food alone. He will not give up a chance to get a top 5 tonight.
I think Henderson's burned up just a little bit too much.
Yeah, he sent it in so hard. You can only do so many Hail Marys before you run out of rubber. Goodness gracious. Parkhurst and Height now 1-on-1, but here comes Hayes. I think Hayes has the best tires of all 3 of them. as they come out of turn number 4. It's going to be 5 laps to go. Henderson gets touched. They're beating and banging in the background. Swatsworth and Henderson together. Yeah, they're still thinking about it because they ran out of momentum. The Bora came up here and caution's out. They ran behind.
It's Peltier Sharp again. In the grass.
It's Sharp. It's Sharp for the second time tonight.
Yeah, it was Peltier Sharp that hit the dirt.
Now, was she helped or not this time? She kind of was one of the catalysts for it the last time around. Let's have a look. It looked like it happened in front of her.
She was avoiding something here. This is what it looked like. Alfred Denny got collected.
Oh, Denny and McDonald. And Santiago gonna get doored on this one. Oh my goodness.
This is the gaggle.
This is almost 5 wide.
Obviously, four out of 4 doesn't work. 5 out of 4 certainly won't work.
Yeah, no, not at all.
You see, Denny was shooting the gap on Moutre. McDonald's still holding that middle lane, and obviously Santiago on the inside there.
Santiago hits hard, man. I mean, this is going to be violent to watch.
Matthew Boone was the other car there.
Now watch this 90 car. This is violent. Almost has it saved.
Ooh, and there's Gaiman involved too.
Yeah, Gaiman and Denny takes a hard hit. Oh my goodness. That 38 car has not been making many friends, but I don't know if I can say that was fully his fault.
That isn't. That's just everyone's in different lanes, and the way it all converges is so difficult. Peltier Sharp doing the smart thing and just getting into the grass and out of the way.
She nearly took herself out, but she did a nice job to keep it off the wall. She's going to need a flag clear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that there's a lot of controversy around that 38. Yeah, it wasn't the brightest move to make, but there's 8 laps to go. There's less than 8 laps to go. There's 5 to go. Holes are going to be filled. It could have easily been anybody else.
This is an overtime finish, is what this is. We are going to overtime.
And they all come in for fresh Goodyear Eagles. Do you take 2? Do you take 4? Shad Swatsworth in the number 4. I don't think this is by design, but he stays out.
So,
as does John Garrett.
So some people rooting for Josh Gaiman. He was involved in that accident. He doesn't have a choice but to come in for damage repairs.
He was clobbered. It cut away on Carmen's view, but when Santiago came back up the course, that is who T-boned Santiago and sent him flying into the guardrail as hard as he did into that safer barrier, which thank goodness for it. But there was nowhere to go, and I think that might actually be close to day done for Gaiman, because he had already had that big incident where he got, for lack of better words, he got dumped out of the lead into turn number 3. Obviously not on purpose, but So several drivers, it looks like, going to stay out. Is Peltier Sharp going to stay out? Moutre, Boone, Fuller, Poznansky.
A lot of drivers risking it for the biscuit right now. They're hoping that everyone battles too far behind.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Me and you are in the same boat. We don't agree with this. Obviously, I think you're a 2-tire fan. I'm a 4-tire fan on this situation.
No, I'm not a 2-tire fan, Carmen. I swear to God, I'm taking 4 every time, because think of how abrasive it is. You think of how abrasive it is. If you take 4 tires, you can hang it up on the top and pass every single one of them. And if you take 4 and they slide up in front of you, you can cut back underneath and do a switch over. You want 4 tires right now.
We're both in agreement here then that 4 tires was the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I would give you.
Everyone did it.
I'll give you props for 2. I wouldn't take. If you take none, you're crazy. But, I mean, I guess why not? These guys have been at the back. They've been buried at the back. They haven't been able to make this.
You may as well wing it, and if you get another caution, then that's just more you have to deal with.
Well, look at it this way. You're going to finish 23rd anyway. You either finish 23rd because everybody passes you, or you get dumped. If you didn't pit, you're going to finish 23rd anyway. So, I don't blame this move. I don't blame anybody for trying this, but let's just hope and just... If you're a religious person, let's hope and pray that they know how to race on old tires, because I can already see right here where about 6 or 7 of the best cars all night get wiped out because cars on old tires come flying up the hill and cause a huge crash.
Yeah,
they've got to be disciplined.
Yeah, Swatsworth and Moutre, who pit on lap 84. Boone and Garrett pit on lap 80, as the Peltier Sharp. Caitlin Height pit on 97. Wes Fuller, the last of those that did not pit. He is in the outside lane, I believe.
I want to point out, this is not an attempt at a green-white checkered. It is a green-white checkered, but it's going to be a natural green-white checkered. We're going to go green on lap 99 and take the white on 100. If they can't make it back in time, then we'll start taking attempts at the green-white checkered. Bryce Bohr has crashed, or at least stopped the number 1 car and warped back to the pit lane. His night is over. Could be the last restart. I have the slightest suspicion that it's not, but let's give it a go, Carmen.
Absolutely. Swatsworth up front for the first time with Moutre, Garrett, Boone, Peltier, Sharp, and Height. Top 6.
Don't spin the tires.
Right, absolutely. Swatsworth almost did. Moutre didn't get a good start, but he didn't spin the tires. But it is going to allow...
to the bottom. Height leading the way for her teammate on the bottom, in fact. Gonna clear at least up to 3rd. Squeaks through on the bottom. Has the tires to run that bottom lane. They're 4 wide behind. They stagger. They scatter everywhere. Height clear and with some clean air after Swatsworth. They make it down the backstretch. There they all go. Sharps around. It's the big one on the backstretch.
Swatsworth will hold on, but we are going to have a green-white
checker. They were never going to make it. There was never a reality where they make it. You have all those tires, all those cars on old tires. You were never, ever, ever going to make it back. I'm surprised they made it further than they did, Carmen, because that was going to be a mess from the start.
Yeah, when you see him fan out 4 wide like that, John Garrett went up as high to the wall as he could. I don't think that was enough to save him. Katie was in front of all of it. It really stacked up. As soon right behind Ryan Moutre was the one that got lucky because it was right on his diffuser.
Yeah, a lot of controversy happening also in the race chat here. A lot of people accusing Caitlin Height of changing lanes before the restart.
I guess
Might have to have a look at that as well, but. It was the teammate of Height that was the first car around. That car in the middle, I'm not sure who it was in the middle. I think it might have been, it wasn't Moutre, was it Sasic? Or was it Boone? So here it is. Watch Caitlin Height, that 3rd car on the inside line.
Does she has to stay until the... that's close.
She moves early, but I don't know.
She's not a full lane down until after the start-finish line.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough call.
That's a hard call.
That's a hard call to make. I think there's the contact in the back. I think it was Boone, the first car that made contact with Hayes, and there goes everybody. Now keep it. I was going to say, let's have another look at it here.
Yeah, this is coming right to the green. Obviously, Moutre wheel spins it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she needs to stay. Obviously, obviously, this highlighter
She's
doesn't
a half
really work.
lane down at this point.
It doesn't really work here, but we're going to try using the highlighter here. So, this is the lane. We're going to just show the lane that she needs to be in before the start-finish line. This little second lane here is where she needs to be. And I'm actually going to go on board with her, because this will be the biggest one. How much of her car is below?
None. But she moves, but I don't think she's fully out of the lane at that time. But that's going to be what the argument is. She is adamant that she did not change lanes.
And I agree with her on that one.
I'm not the admin. I don't make that call. We have the live admin. So far, no penalties been given, but especially with everybody spinning tires, I don't know. The other option is what? Run into the back of the 83 and push and make a wreck?
Yeah, you see, that
Granted,
second
you
seam
could
where
lift.
she needs to be. And she doesn't even break the seam until the line.
It's a close call, but I don't know. I think that's... I don't know. I don't know what the alternative... I mean, the alternative obviously would be lift, but then... I don't know. That's going to be a tough call. I'm glad I'm not the one who has to make it, but we'll see what happens. Now, this is what happens behind them. And now, if we keep this going, watch Gudikun stare in the middle. He's going to get... Well, it's going to get a little... Yeah, he gets turned after the fact on that outside lane. So, they wrecked already. And then they wrecked again. So, it was a little glitchy from there. We're back to 1 to green. I want to see, just one more time if we can have a look at that real quick, because we're down in turn 1. It was Boone that was the first one there in the middle. He's the one who got a little squirrely, got into the 96 machine and sent that to trigger that off. I'm not sure if he had help or not. I'm not going to say one way or the other. I think I'd call that a racing deal either way with all the calamity, but it was Boone and the 96 that got together. And how on earth has it happened? I think because he saved it. Dalton Hayes, who got turned down the backstretch, is still in just outside the top 5.
Yeah.
Is in 5th.
Yeah, he's 3rd in line on the inside lane.
This surely is going to set up for an excellent opportunity for Caitlin Height to try to win this race, because a lot of the traffic is still behind slower cars. I think Moutre
is in 4th, because it's Sasek. Sasek's on the inside. Moutre is following Swatsworth. But there you see, there's the 3rd row. That's
keep an eye on Hall on that 3 car. Keep an eye on Hall in the 3. Dustin Hall was one of the dominant cars all day long. Pace cars off. First attempt at a green-white checkered. Let's see what happens here. It's in control of Swatsworth, but Height in the wings. Green flag out.
Wheel spin for
big
Swatsworth.
Wiggles. Yeah. And the argument there is that he changed more lanes than Height did, but obviously avoiding a crash because of the wheel spin. That's always a leniency. But we'll see here. He gets a good start. Height away, Sasek away, and side by side with Moutre. Height gonna look underneath, and the caution's out again. We're gonna have to do it again because there they go in the background. Oh, and they're still wrecking. Shangle gets turned down the backstretch.
Someone took a hard hit in turn 2.
That was Shangle. It was Jacob Shangle in the 50.
Did Swatsworth hold on to the lead? He did.
He did. It came out just before Shangle. Shangle lost it on his own and got into McBride after the fact. He was trying to avoid the wreck, got hard into the back of, I believe that was the John Deere machine, Collins, but it was... Oh, it was contact in front of Collins. I'm trying to get an eye on who that was. I think it might have been Poznansky, perhaps. I'm trying to get eyes here.
So we're gonna switch over, see what Chrissy's looking at here, because it does get wild in a hurry. There's Gaiman in the 61. That's 31.
It was Failer. Failer was the first one around.
42.
So let me. Yeah, so it was Failer and Collins. Was it Collins that? Oh yeah.
Yeah, Collins kind of just sent it in, didn't he?
Well, let's see, because here's McBride in the 47. Oh, McBride ran over. No, I take that back. It was McBride who got in the back of Failer. There goes Poznansky and his Failer spinning. That's how that one started. But as that is all developing in front, you have Pelletier Sharp, who wasn't involved in this, but Jacob Shangle, who, watch, he gets into the back there of Collins, and then they get into Gutekunst, but look at this, just out of control at this point from that contact. Cleans out McBride. A bit of racer's justice, perhaps, because McBride was the one who, obviously not on purpose, but just, I think, just misjudged this here. Comes into the corner too deep, gets into the back of Failer. Failer gets into Collins. McBride gets some contact, puts Poznansky into it. Gutekunst, Shangle, and as Shangle's trying to hang on and stay away from everybody else, the rookie comes up and collects McBride, and they both go for a spin. So
that's rough.
Yeah. It's also rough for Height, who thought she was clear for the second time now with Swatsworth, but is not going to be the case. It looks to me like Alfred Denny is going to get the wave around and become only 3 laps down now, so... Let's see. Just want to quickly remind everybody in the chat, while discussion is encouraged, arguments about the rules is not going to get us anywhere. It's not our call to make. It is live admin, which I believe we have tonight as well. I'm not sure if that was just for Daytona or not. But nevertheless, we'll we'll have updates with that as it is. Of course, the debate whether or not Caitlin Height changed lanes on the previous restart too early. I would imagine if it was ruled as such with a live admin, that a penalty would have been given already, but whether or not we have a live admin for sure is still yet to be known. But we do have a live admin.
Yep, Josh.
It is Sosi once again, and Josh does a fantastic job at that. There was already reports of it in the chat. There was already Caitlin's defense, so we'll see.
Yeah, Josh.
So we'll get a word on that in a moment. I figure Sosi is usually pretty quick to act on that, and usually as a racer himself can discern deliberate versus non-deliberate kind of situations, but we'll see what happens there. Obviously, we're not the ones who make that call. We'll be very quick to tell you an update if there is a ruling, either for or no action taken on Caitlin Height. But what we do know is we have another shot at a green-white checkered here after 12 cautions. We'll give it a go one more time. Swatsworth on old tires, hanging on for dear life over Caitlin Height, Dalton Hayes, Eli Sasek, Dean Clavitt, Ryan Moutre, Dustin Hall, Matt Parker, Zachary Meredith, and John Garrett. There's only about 2 or 3 drivers in that entire list that have not been involved in an incident tonight.
Yeah. And
Height and Clavitt are the only couple who come to mind. So pace car is off. We'll try it again, Carmen. Maybe third time's the charm.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? It's Swatsworth, Height. Then you have Sasek and the 96 of Dalton Hayes. Green flag back in the air. A little bit cleaner of a restart. Swatsworth still with a little bit of wheel spin, but he stays clear. The Toyota's behind him. There's 3 Toyotas behind him with Sasek in the 45.
Yeah, the Arrowhead teammates, but look at how they eat up Swatsworth. Katie sends it one more time and finally is going to get clear. Do they wreck behind or do they stay in the right direction? So far,
and
still green and clear. Yeah, Hayes has fresh tires too. Don't forget that. He just has damage. They're 4 wide behind Height now. They get into turn 3 and 4. Do they make it back
Hayes
to the
on the
line?
outside lane.
Look at the 3 car. I told you watch Dustin Hall. He's not done yet either.
No, he's not. Almost contact that with Sasek.
Trying to block. They get to the line. This is the final lap of the GooseGraphics 200 at Michigan. Caitlin Height, teammate. Dalton Hayes behind. Dustin Hall trying to make something happen. Eli Sasek on the apron into turn number 1. Can they make it back behind them?
Hayes with a little bit of blinking, but so far still good. Hayes on the outside lane. Sorry, Dustin Hall on the outside lane.
Yeah,
will take second away. And
I think Hayes lost a lot of momentum because Meredith is back in it after the night he's had. But it's all behind Caitlin Height in the number 11, who, provided she doesn't get a penalty, looks like she's going to win this race, Carmen.
Caitlin Height. Yeah, they're wrecking in the back, but Caitlin Height's going to take the checkered flag. She wins at Michigan. Dustin Hall second. Zach Meredith recovery drive for third.
It was Joshua Gaiman who got turned out of 4. He crosses the line still, but got turned out of turn number 4. Unfortunate for him and the Stepping Stone Motorsports gang. Some cars running out of fuel, causing some of those issues, and that might have been what happened as well, because all those green-white checkers, Carmen, it got pretty close.
Obviously, congratulations from teammates there. The 11 and the 96.
Oh. Yeah, absolutely.
Someone just
fantastic job.
Someone
it was the 38,
yeah.
I think. We'll see here what's going on as we try to. I don't think it was the 38. Forgive me. I'm not sure. There's a lot of people chirping at the. No, it was the 38 that turned somebody.
It was the 38 that turned the 31 at Gibney.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Once again, McDonald, hothead.
I don't mean to make a comment, but for a guy who's been wrecking just about everybody every week,
and he
to go out and dump somebody else. When Dean Clavitt has come after you and hooked you, you know you've messed up, and then he gets into Gutekunst after the fact,
which is the person that paid for his charter.
Yeah,
he's.
And it was McDonald that dumped Gaiman on the last lap. Here's a look at that if we want to split screen that. There's Caitlin Height celebrating with a little bit of fuel left in the tank, still waiting for scoring there. Teammate of Dalton Hayes might be out of gas on the bottom. Did Hayes get a penalty or no? Oh no, he dropped back to 4th. Excuse me. It was Meredith that passed. Yeah. So Caitlin Height, still waiting. Still no word from race control at this point. I feel like it's probably official. But we'll try to get a word from one of the officials to see if Sosi can drop a line to us, or Henderson can let us know if there's any outstanding investigations on the 11. But unofficially, Caitlin Height, third career win in HTL here in the number 11 machine. Now that she's parked up there, Carmen, if you want, I'd love to take a look at this whole ordeal that started with the number 38 machine, because this is a bit of a mess to unpack.
Yep, so we're looking at it here.
This is the last lap in 3 and 4. It's not the best angle, but there. Well, you can see that the picture tells the story.
Yep.
Not the cleanest angle of it, but Gaiman pretty much. I'm trying to stay impartial here, and I know as much as we've been hitting on him, it sounds like it's biased, but it looks to me like McDonald kind of just packs it in there and dumps him. And hits him again for good measure. Obviously, that one, not intentional. I don't know if the first one was intentional either, but he slides across the line. Now, that's what happens here, and I think what might have happened, I'm not sure why McDonald was mad with the 31 car. I wonder, let's see here. All right, so this is gonna give us some clarity. So, chopper view, 31 car on the back bumper gives him a little push. I don't know if he actually got to him or not. You can't even argue that the 31 pushed the 38 into Gaiman because it was so late in the corner. So here they come to the checkers. Oh my goodness, he blocks him all the way there. Contact with the 31. They wreck in front. That's Santiago in the wall. That's Parkhurst and the 77 machine who've gone around. Woodard. That's just racing, I would imagine. So now this is on the cooldown lap. Dylan McDonald speeding ahead here, goes by Henderson, slowing down now. 31 gives him a nudge. Not happy with how he was raced there at the line, I imagine. Probably a bit unnecessary from the 31 in fairness. And then this is
as blatant
not
as
as deliberate as it gets. Thought Katie Height at Daytona in the
Jimmy Strong 250
the Jimmy Strong. And here comes Dean Clavitt having none of it. Turning himself as well off of Collins, who was an innocent bystander, as was Withers, who abandons the pit altogether, and then Gutekunst getting clobbered on the way into the pit lane as the 38 scrambles to find his way to the HTL hauler, who I think he's being called there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll look at this one more time. We'll look at this one more time. We'll look at this whole last couple of laps from his camera on his onboard, because I'm sure he's going to insist that he was raced hard by the 31. And raced hard, yes, he was. But I'm not going to say that he was raced poorly. I think that's hard racing on the last lap, and if anybody is going to dish it, it's going to be him. But let's have a ride on board and have a look. A lot to unpack here, but again, to remind you, Caitlin Height, Dustin Hall, and Zachary Meredith, the top three. We'll speak with all of them that we can in just a moment. But here we are on board here. Coming to the green flag for the final restart. Runs into the back of Gibney here. Hits him a couple times. I'm sure that annoys Gibney a bit, but that's all fair in love and war. Off into turn one now. Sails it in on the 31, almost into the back of Gutekunst. Nice. This is clean here, clean here. Look at that, 3 wide. That's Santiago up ahead getting bounced like a pinball. Runs into the back of Gibney in the 31 car here. Gives him a push. That push goes to Gaiman. Gets into the back of Gutekunst. Here comes Gaiman trying to split the middle there with the slow cars on the old tires. Remember, those were still the cars on old tires from earlier. There's Gaiman split in the middle trying to make up what he can. There you see on the bottom is going to be Eli Sasek in the 45. I think he was out of gas is what the issue was there. Gaiman drives it off in deep, fighting hard with Gutekunst. There's the 4, Swatsworth, also on old tires. Hits the wall here. Doesn't get into Swatsworth, but does hit the wall. And here's McDonald. This is where it starts getting exciting.
That's a word to use.
Yeah, he's been pushed at this point, but look, he's checked up. Now he's gassing up. I don't know. I'm a broadcaster, but I'm a race car driver first. He flat dumps Gaiman. And then blocks Gibney here after hitting him 2 or 3 times, so gives him one more for good measure. So now this is where it gets super exciting. You see the incident in head. I don't think that was temper related. I think that was just 4 or 5 wide at the finish. So now we're going to jump to the back camera, and now we're going to see things start to unfold here. So here comes Gibney. After being raced very aggressively there, blocked hard at the finish. Just a little bump. Again, tempers flare, probably unnecessary, but then this is where it really... I mean, how many times are you going to run a guy over before you expect a bump back? I really don't know. And Dean Clavitt, I believe teammates, yes, with the 38 machine, or at least...
Yeah, they're deep racing teammates, yeah. Clavitt definitely took offense to it.
Standing up for his teammate and his team.
And there's the 72 as well, so it was Rage versus Deep Racing.
Yeah,
like,
well, Rage is right. And Gutekunst just... Poor Gutekunst, man. He had nothing to do with any of this, and he was in the middle of it the whole time. He's the one I feel the most sorry for. His car's torn all to pieces and has to go to the shop.
You've heard of Rage Against the Machine. Now it's Rage with the Machines.
Rage Against the McDonald, I believe. So
no,
I really don't know.
He's the one causing the rage.
Yeah. Well, I miss the rage, but goodness gracious me, I'm sure there's going to be fireworks in and off the track, and if this was Grand Theft Auto and they could get up out of the cars, I'm sure there'd be some bloody lips and some respawns needed. But there you see who's happy. Someone's happy. Aerotech saying the scenes from the Michigan International Daycare. As I feel really bad for our HTL stewards who have to sit these boys and girls down and have a conversation. Well, it's just the boys tonight that have caused the trouble. Although Katie's probably going to have a quick run in there. Still waiting for an official word if we could get
the
one.
The official word right now is that she's fine. Because I've been in interactions with the race control. Josh Rasosi, obviously a lot on his hands now, but now that post race is in, some of the other admins can sort of help handle this. But Sosi, with how that took place, there was opportunities for Katie to be penalized, and she was not.
I agree with that. And if you're seeing that also, we are seeing a situation where there's not being penalties handed down and other people are clearing her on that situation, then yeah, it's pretty much, I mean, that pretty much answers the question. So, yeah, I guess we'll stay tuned. We'll see and grab who we can. Of course, all this happened. We still have a interview to go through because we got a race winner who's sitting around waiting for permission to climb out of a race car. Yeah, her teammate.
But, well, not her teammate. But
not her teammate, rather, but...
another Toyota driver.
Toyota compatriot. They work together at Daytona.
So we'll talk to Zachary Meredith first. I want to kind of keep my eyes peeled on all of this stuff here that's going on the... in the paddock, I guess, unloading.
Yeah, if you want to keep an eye on that, we can go ahead and pull Meredith in the number 39 machine. If you want, Carmen, also throw up the unofficial results. Oh, you already have them up. Excuse me. I was looking at my own there, but if you want to throw up the unofficial full results, that'd be great too. But Zachary Meredith, who's been up, down, everything but upside down today, found himself on the tail end of the podium at the end of the insanity. And goodness. Lots to unpack here, but we'll see if we can pull him in.
Alrighty, Zach, this is Carmen and Chrissy from the ABN booth. You get a copy?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Well, we got a copy, but it was a bit distorted.
Oh, hey, sorry.
Now we got you. I wanted to say, first of all, the race is over. Any more times you get turned backwards today doesn't matter. You're on the podium. Congratulations. It has been an insane night for you. Starting with a good qualifying run, getting turned early on, keeping it off the wall, working your way all the way back up to the tail end of the top 10, once again getting turned, finding yourself in a very precarious situation, and after everything was all said and done, you somehow found your way back onto the podium. Gotta feel pretty good about that one, even though you might have felt like you had a shot to win tonight. What are the emotions like now that you're finally not dizzy anymore and parked the car?
I am so glad that race is over. I am so glad. It was a long race. But yeah, I mean, I definitely felt like I had a race-winning car. I had really good speed on the long run. I just couldn't get a long run, and every time we got close to it, a caution would come out and ruin it. But I mean, qualified top 10, running top 10, and then I made a mistake and got tight, like lap 8 or 9, and kissed the wall, and then the guy behind me couldn't check up quick enough, and I got spun, went all the way back to the 30th, drove all the way back up to like 10th, got wrecked, went all the way back up to 35th, drove all the way back to like 17th, 15th, got wrecked again, went all the way back, and, I just, just staying disciplined, just knowing what I was capable of doing, just running the high line, try to save tires, outlasting people on these long runs, and then at the end of the race, I was just trying to manage the tires because we only had, I was down to my last set with like 10 to go, so I try to conserve those as much as possible, so I was flying on the last 2 or 3 starts. I was just hoping we would have had one more caution so I could have had a shot at a true win. But yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster of emotions for that race.
I gotta say, we had a full grid tonight. We sent people home for the second race running here in HTL. To have everybody, as many cars as we did running at the end too, you weren't kidding when you said 30 something. I mean, you were up in the front, down in the back. You had to miss all those wrecks. You got caught up in a couple more. You came back, missed some more wrecks. Absolutely sent it in those last 20 laps with all those restarts. I mean, does a third feel like a win given the context tonight?
Yeah, the third place finish definitely feels like a win. I'll take it after all the wrecks and dodging wrecks and just everything that was happening. I was just like, man, I was like, I know I can do this. I know I can race up front. I mean, I was running better lap times than the leaders were at some points. I just had to stay true to myself and know what I was capable of doing. But yeah, it was insane. I need someone to go back and count every car that I passed, because I swear on my life it's more than 200 cars. I guarantee you I passed more than 200 cars tonight. It was just crazy.
It's a number that sounds unbelievable, but given the way that we were trying to keep track of your progress back up through the field, it is probably not impossible that number is definitely in the triple digits, if not into 200. So I just want to say, though, there was a lot of tempers flaring during the tail end of that race. There's a lot of them actually at the end. You're not involved in that, at least. You're sitting in P3, had an incredible recovery drive that just didn't seem to end, but you would not give up. And it really rewarded you with a P3, an excellent effort. First of all, moving into the next weekend now, of course, we have the week off, but then once we come back, how does that fuel your emotions? And second off, since you are on the podium, after all of that, you definitely deserve to shout out your sponsors and anybody you want to say thanks to.
Yeah, I just want to shout out to my sponsors, DNN. I want to shout out to Blake for making a scheme again. Hopefully he can make me like a red, white, and blue one, because my Bills were playing tonight. I'm a big Bills fan, but I know this isn't race related or anything, but prayers out to Damar Hamlin. He got carted off the field tonight. He collapsed and everything, so hopefully he's doing okay. Yeah, I'm definitely driven for the next race. I don't know what the next race is, but
I believe it's Kansas.
Kansas in 2 weeks.
Yep. I love it. I love me some Kansas, so that should be fun.
We'll be talking to you at Victory Lane next time, yeah?
Maybe. I almost won my other league championship at Kansas. I was close, but we'll see. But it's all a matter of time and see what happens and how everybody else does. I just have to see how my competition is, learn from them, see what I can do better, and see if I can go out there and win.
Well, you were only 2 steps off tonight. You had a car that could have won, and you definitely showed that you passed more people than anybody else today. I'm sure of that. I think you should really be proud of that, if nothing else, and it sounds like you are. So congratulations. Enjoy that P3, and we'll see you in 2 weeks, Zach.
Appreciate it. Oh, and real quick, too. I did all that without using my fast repair, too. I didn't use my fast repair that race. To make that even
makes
more
me very
crazy.
happy. That makes me very happy.
I fixed all that damage multiple times on pit road, so...
You had to beat the pace car off on one occasion. We saw that for sure. So
it was crazy, but I appreciate it, guys. I'll go back and watch this broadcast tomorrow and see how it was. So shout out to you guys as well.
Well, thank you. Zachary Meredith, P3. No need for fast repairs. That sounds like shades of somebody else I know. But a great effort from Zach. up 4 positions. It'll show on the stats he moved up 4 positions from qualifying, but the story he has to tell is far more important than that. So great effort from him. We'll see if we can talk to Dustin Hall. I'm not sure if he's in the waiting room or not.
He is currently not. We're trying to see.
It's currently
there he
not.
is.
There he is. So we do have Dustin Hall in the waiting room. I'm going to go ahead and pull him in. Dustin, this is Kristina in the ABM booth. Do you have a copy?
Yeah, Kristina, how are you?
Doing great. Probably not doing as great as you are with a P2 after a wild night at Michigan. I wanted to ask you, did you feel like your race might have been over after that first big collision you were a part of, or did you know you'd find your way back to the front with time?
You know, earlier in the race, if I'd have pulled my bonehead, my quota 1 per race early in the race, I wouldn't have worried too much. But as late as that was, and as many cautions that followed, yeah, I was a little bit concerned. Made some good choices on the choose cone, and was able to pick up 2 or 3 each caution, and then had a good run to the finish. And I think I was probably more surprised than anybody that's where I ended up.
You were absolutely flying on those final few restarts with those fresh tires, ripping the top, finding holes in the middle, ripping the bottom. I mean, did it feel like a video game out there at that point with everybody on the old tires in front of you, or was it more or less you just trying to race yourself at that point? Because I know how insane that is when the speed difference is that extreme. You're getting restart after restart. People are wrecking left and right. You already wrecked a couple times. I mean, were you even looking in the mirror? Were you even looking around, or were you tunnel visioned on trying to find any hole you could?
Yeah, all out front.
Yeah,
video
I
game.
figured.
You mentioned a video game. A video game's a little more predictable than these cats are racing with. So I felt a little more like Moses, I guess, because the seas just parted.
Well, you had a strong car all night. You obviously qualified on pole with a lap that we were really surprised got pole. It seemed like almost an insane lap. You were fighting the car a little bit on that one. Ended up with a really, really good pole position. We know you had the speed to come back to second. Obviously, just one off of where you wanted to be. But given the night that you had with all the back and forth and the up and down and the charge back through late, number one, if I told you with 20 to go that you'd still finish this race second, would you believe me? And number two, how does it feel for you to bring that car back onto the podium after the night you had?
1, no, definitely not. 2, it feels good. I do this. We do this for fun, and I think some people lose sight of that at times. But we do this for fun. We all make mistakes. It's human nature to do so. I wadded John, the 53. I wadded him up, not knowing we were 3 wide, and felt terrible for everybody that got wrecked. I was quick to apologize. I hope I'm forgiven for it. But again, we do it for fun, and life's too short to hold those grudges. And tonight was fun. So.
Yeah, well, I will say, I'm pretty sure people were more mad at some other drivers at the end of that race. They probably don't even remember what happened with you. So you can take that on your chin at least, because there was some serious fireworks, and I'm sure that the stewards are going to be busy in the holler tonight. But a P2 for you. It wasn't a 7th career win, but it was an excellent effort and a great rebound after an incident early on. Is there anybody you want to say shout out to, say thanks to that got you here? Feel free to do it now, my man.
Absolutely, and we'll get back. We'll get there. We'll get that 7th.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, big thanks to my family and friends who tune in and watch. Thanks to Blake and the crew for putting this league together, and you guys for broadcasting. Appreciate Blake also throwing this paint together for me. It's really weird driving the 3 car, but I don't know. We're just gonna go ahead and embrace it. And big thanks to Team Conti for letting me kind of skip away from some of my responsibilities over on the Coke side to come over here and have some fun. And as always, I've got to give a big shout out to my late nephew Jimmy. Always be racing Jimmy strong, and hopefully we're honoring him, making him proud.
Yeah, absolutely. I obviously can't speak for everybody, but that run is one you should be proud of with that P2. Fantastic effort, Dustin. Congrats.
Thank you.
So that is P2. and another great run. And you know, Carmen, he said it felt weird to drive the 3 car, but with efforts like that, it really earning that legacy to drive that number 3 tonight. An excellent effort from Dustin.
Absolutely. We said, hey, keep your eyes on him. Both me and you was like, hey, keep an eye on that number 3 car. And at the end there, he definitely knew where he wanted to be and wasn't going to be denied that. Obviously, that 3-wide pass in the outside lane, coming to the white flag, almost chased down Katie. Katie was almost right in his clutches, but
and you know what? She knew that because you saw the move she made down on almost on the apron in 1 and 2. She knew she had to get clear and get away, and that's exactly why, because that 3 car was digging.
Yeah, that 3 car was one of the fastest cars. So,
speaking of, finally, we get to speak to Caitlin Height, our 3-time now race winner in HTL, first of the season and first with this team. Caitlin, it is Kristina in the ABN booth. Do you have a copy?
Hi, Chrissy.
Hi, Katie. Well, I gotta say, it was a very, very strong effort from you towards the end there, but it seemed like you were running around with about a top 5 car. Was that the outright pace you had in the mid phase, or was that you saving tires potentially to have a go at it like you did here?
Towards the very end of the regulation part, when I was behind, I think the 32, I think at that point I was going to get second. I was like, didn't have enough time for like the tires to really sort of do their thing, but then all of a sudden we just got all the restarts and all that, and it just sort of fell my way there at the very end, and just had to keep hoping that I could actually pass the 4 on the restarts, and then finally did, and just sort of drove away from the rest of the field there until I saw the 3 getting bigger.
Yeah, we were just mentioning that. It seemed like you knew the urgency was there trying to get around the 4 car, but it took you once, twice, 3 attempts to finally clear, and we could see the desperation starting to grow. You looked like you were sure to pass him every time, but the cautions kept coming out. How hard was it to try and keep that composure and actually just kind of keep it calm, get around and get out of there before it was too late?
Well, it was it was tough because, you know, you have everything. You have the adrenaline just pumping each restart, and then just that exasperation of like seeing the yellow flag flying. It's like, and there's nothing you can really do about it, and just have to do it again and keep going and just hope that it ends up going your way. I'm not sure how many like restart attempts we were gonna have, but at some point the 4 was gonna have to pit again for fuel, I think, but I was hoping it didn't have to come down to that.
Yeah, well, you still did a fantastic job, and before we let you thank everybody, we know there was some controversy with that restart, some people claiming that you changed lanes. We had a look at it. We're still waiting. I don't know if Carmen has an official word yet, but it looks like there's not going to be any action taken. But do you have any comments about that and that coming to the restart with, I think it was the first green-white checkered attempt?
Well, I just tried to time the restart absolutely perfectly, and really I did. And you know, in there, as the caution came out again, it was reviewed by the admins, and they said that it was fine. So if it wasn't, I would have been penalized already. So I mean, at this point, it's just one of those controversial calls, I guess, if you want to say that. But at this point, I guess it's just, it'll have to stand because it was already said it was okay.
Well, there you go. That was the word that we were kind of looking for. We were trying to snoop around. We had heard some things from the admin saying it sounded pretty good. It sounded like there was no action going to be taken, and we knew a couple of them in that if there was no action taken, it would seem strange that they would take some now. But Carmen, I think you had something to say about that.
Yeah, no. So that was what I brought up before I started doing interviews. But that's sort of just been reconfirmed that like anything like that, like they had a chance to review it and they didn't take action on it. So we're clear.
Well, now that there is no doubts now that you have won this race. It's your first win of the season, your third career win. You've done a fantastic job. I'm sure this is going to amp the energy up moving forward, and thinking maybe in terms of championship headed forward into the rest of the season. But if you have anybody else you want to thank, anybody you want to shout out, now would be the time to do it. You are the winner of tonight's event at Michigan.
Well, first off, I want to thank Arrowhead Racing and my teammate Dalton Hayes and Carmen for bringing me on board the team. I want to thank everyone up here in the booth for your production value of the race and commentaries. And you would know a lot more than I would about all the efforts that Sebastian Vettel's going to help push humanity forward with his own platforms better than some other people can do. And I gotta thank all the dolls back at the shop.
Well, there you have it. Caitlin Height, a first-time winner this season. Says 2 career HTL Cup Series wins, but that was rendered before she went out and won tonight. So congratulations, Caitlin, on the dub from 4th place. Great job.
Thank you so much.
And that's going to do it, I believe, with interviews. I think we have Dalton Hayes sitting around, but we're getting a bit close on time. It is worth shouting out to Dalton Hayes. 23 positions gained from his starting position. A fantastic job. More gained than anybody else tonight. That 4th place finish going to sit really well with him. And, of course, a 1-4 for that team. Carmen, if you want, we can go through the finishing order one last time and go, now that it looks like it is official. Of course, some action might be taken with some of the shenanigans towards the end of the event tonight, but as far as we know, at least the top 5 and down to about top 10 will be safe. It's Caitlin Height who wins by 3/10 over Dustin Hall, who was charging hard at the end. A good rebound for him and Meredith. It's going to be Dalton Hayes and Dean Clavitt. Clavitt had not been up front very much all day long, but got up there when it mattered. A great top 5 for him. Dalton Hayes, as we just mentioned, going to be absolutely thrilled with that top 5. Angel Santiago was backwards, getting turned, got dumped very hard. Heavy impact. Actually bounces back for 6, so a really good rebound for him as well. Henderson had a good night, ends up in 7th. Parkhurst in 8th. Giles 9th. And Woodard 10th. Carmen, that's a pretty good top 10, but we still got a lot of drivers that had good races today.
Yeah, a lot of the points flipped on its head. Obviously, you look at John Goodicon sitting 11th, McDonald in 12th. This is where we start getting into the won't there be penalties? What will those penalties look like if they do happen sort of deals. Kevin Gibney Jr. also in that won't be situation. Caleb Collins, another one who may be flirting with issues here. Tommy Withers in 15th. You look at him for Tombstone, filling in for the 2nd week in a row. A little bit better this time around for Withers, finishing top 15, top half of the field easily. Ahead of Gary Donaldson, another Tombstone driver, Ricky Gonzalez, Chad Swatsworth rounding up the top half. One thing I kind of wanted to point out with that top 10, Deep Racing, they said they were here to compete for wins and championships. They haven't got their race win yet, but another race where they've had 2 top 5s, actually the 5th and the 6th with Clavitt and Santiago. Another really good points day for that team. Only team that did better than them overall was Arrowhead tonight, but they still weren't close to them with how last week went at Daytona. So really good team points issue there. Deep Racing definitely pushed the envelope when they can. But you look at the Swatsworth, should be higher. He was in it for the early running. Him and Josh Gavin being about two cars that were taken out early on and just never had a chance to really recover. Swatsworth is right there in that. As we look on down the second page here, obviously you see Matt Smith 19th, Thad Failer 20th. That's your top 20. Again, Failer, really bad accident late. Same with Matt Smith. Stay on lead lap, but when you only have a couple laps to run and everyone's moving, how much can you gain that far back? So they're going to be hoping for a little bit better going 2 weeks from now in Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you got John Garrett, who had been up front for a little bit, but ultimately got caught up in some of that melee, just couldn't quite find the holes where he needed, but still a nice effort enough in that top half. half, or just above, just below that top half rather, but still nearing that top 20. Ryan Moutre was involved in some serious collisions tonight, but still gets a P22. Wes Fuller got his rally license a few times as well. Joshua Gaiman was running much higher than 24th coming out of turn 4, but that has been explained. There's been some contact there at the end and some fireworks. We wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys might gain a couple positions, or we have one less person fighting for a charter spot next time out, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Not much to speculate. Lily Peltier Sharp had an eventful debut, but not too bad for a 25th place for her. Matthew Boone looking for more, should have had more, definitely had more in the bank, but was involved in some of the crashes towards the end. Poznanski, similar situation. Eli Sasek as well, running out of fuel on that final restart. Zach McBride with a 29th, not what he's going to want, but it is an improvement on the last few events for him. Of course, he was getting struck by bad luck left and right, it seemed. Tyler Rex had some off-road shenanigans as well. Not shenanigans that he needs to be worried about. Jacob Shangle had one really impressive save, and he kind of ran out of luck towards the end. He's going to finish 34th. Alfred Denny, 32nd. He had his own issues as well. Boer pulled it off during one of the green-white checkers, had an issue. His night went from bad to worse. George Jewell had a great, promising race looking in the early half, but got caught up in too many incidents. Alistair Kirk, similar story. Jim Oot had a horrible collision, getting sandwiched in the outside wall. He is okay, but he is out at 36th place. And that's about going to do it here from Michigan. Carmen, any closing thoughts before we sign off for tonight from the GooseGraphics 200?
Obviously, a lot of chaos. There's going to be so much to kind of fall down. It's kind of a good thing there's an off week to kind of digest these first two very chaotic weeks. But yeah, it's very interesting seeing everyone try to hop into a groove. 2022 ended and 2023 began in the same way, and that was a lot of fire. But it was a lot of fun. Can't wait to see what Kansas brings. These cars at mile and a halves, it really has kind of rejuvenated the intermediate tracks, just in how they drive. Obviously, the downforce package definitely helps bring it to life a little bit. I've raced some of these guys and girls on the intermediates at Kentucky, at Charlotte. And it's a lot of fun, so I can't wait to see how they do it in Kansas and see if we have to send more people home. That's been a really big surprise, is that the momentum's carried from Daytona. So we'll have to see how that continues after the 1 week break next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to say, the only thing I have left to say for that is that it was been an incredible race. We had so much fun bringing it to you. It was hard to stay on top of, but we got a lot to talk about, a lot to digest, and I'm like you. I'm glad we got a week to digest. I don't know about you. How about we get thrown out of VR chat Applebee's?
Absolutely. You can deal with that. I have to somehow make it all the way to Watkins Glen. Super Sprint tomorrow night. I'll be in the booth for that one. And then Hyper Formula Wednesday night from Silverstone. That's our activities this week. Everyone that helps make all this so special, you all make it worth it. And we appreciate you spending your time with us here on a Monday evening to start off 2023. Thank you all so much. But yeah, let's go ahead and have some fun. On behalf of Kristina Ryan, on behalf of HTL Cup Series, on behalf of GooseGraphics for the GooseGraphics 200, congrats to Caitlin Height, Dustin Hall, and Zachary Meredith. But for Kristina Ryan, I'm Carmen Hardy. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow night for Super Sprint at Watkins Glen. Until then, so long and take care.